everyone, and welcome to the Gaming Corner podcast. And opinions on video games? Oh boy, do we have them. I'm your host, Jeff, and joining me today is Daniel, aka Dance Warrior 777.
Hi.
What's going on, Danny boy?
What's going on? Been playing quite a few games. Been trying some Genshin Impact lately. Other than that, though, just making my usual rounds, doing a bit of streaming, and keeping everyone entertained.
Nice. Sounds like you're keeping busy. And also joining me today is Adam. Hey, Adam, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeff. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. Have you been playing any fun games recently?
Mostly just Genshin Impact. When I've been playing anything, I've been reading more. I'm back on the reading swing.
Back on the reading train. And unfortunately today, guys, Henry was not able to join us. He has succumbed to his allergies.
Yeah.
He exploded.
He exploded in mostly mucus and snot. But
So it might be a bit of a shorter podcast today, so
it might be.
we'll see.
But Henry, we miss you, and hopefully we'll see you here next time. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining me for today's episode 3 of the Gaming Corner podcast. I want to hop right into our first topic here.
Okay.
All right.
So Daniel suggested this topic. Thanks, Dan, for the suggestion.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
So today's climate, today's video game landscape
Oh, okay.
involves a lot of different styles of monetization and different styles of games. Obviously, there's a ton of variety out there, but the two most prominent monetary schemes, we're back on the money train, by the way. Just to follow up with last week, we talked about the last episode, we talked about some monetary stuff. So let's continue on that train. I want to talk today, and Daniel wants to talk today, about pay to play versus free to play games. Those are the two primary monetary strategies that developers undertake when determining, how their game should be accessed. And I want to talk about what are the strengths and weaknesses of both. Which do we prefer? Which one do we think is better? I guess the best way to go into this is to just talk about our off-the-cuff thoughts. So, Dan, since you suggested this topic, why don't you lead the charge on this? He's got his book. He's got his TED Talks book.
Pulled out a giant book. All right, boys. Section 5 states.
Section 5 of Quadrant 40.
Quadrant 40. Up.
Usually
3.
there are only 4 quadrants and things. It's kind of in the name.
Welcome to the 10th. Welcome to the 10th dimension, my friend.
We've added time, space, a little bit of Flarbian. What?
Flarbian.
Flarbian, yes.
That accounts for the other 36 quadrants.
7th dimension.
I can't even figure out the 4th one.
So, what makes this an interesting topic is the fact
4th
that...
dimension is time, Jeff.
There you go. I figured it out. All right. Go ahead, Dan.
I'm smacking my book. What makes this an interesting topic is the fact that game development costs actually quite a lot of money to get a product from point A to point B. Some of the big-time gamers actually produce, I would you say a six-digit salary? I didn't look this up. But the gaming industry is very profitable for people that are actually in it. Which is...
I don't know if the developers make that much. I'm sure some corporate executive is, but...
Okay. That is a fair
But there is a
statement,
huge
right?
team of people that work on a lot of...
There's a large hierarchy of employees.
For like a AAA game or a major game company.
So
games actually have to produce money in order to keep the gaming industry in business, which is where the free-to-play topic becomes a very interesting session for debate, due to the fact that people can't work for free in this day and age, or
they never really could. They kind of need to eat.
Yeah, it's a flaw that we humans have.
So, but on another viewpoint, people to a degree prefer free-to-play or even demos of games and giving out free content so that people can try and understand games and what they're buying, and just to have fun in general when money is tight. So that maybe a free-to-play game could generate money for them later on. And, oh my gosh, there's so many topics here. But I'd like to actually bring up some interesting numbers. If I scoot over here, pull this. I pulled up a list of the highest grossing video game franchises of all time.
All right. Interesting. Let's hear it.
Now, here we go. I'm trying to stick to ones that really help exuberate this interesting example. We have right here, let's see, year of inception, 2009, League of Legends. This is a free-to-play game. You don't need to pay any money to play it. You can pay money for accessories and skins. But as on this chart, as of 2019, they have generated $10 billion as an industry. They have generated more money than the Grand Theft Auto lifetime revenue.
Dang, and that's with how many games?
Yes.
I don't remember how many are in Grand Theft Auto. Like, I know
Let's just
Grand
go
Theft
with a
Auto
lot,
5 came
like-
out.
There's GTA 5, and then there's like 8, 9.
It's like the
That's
Mario
just-
Party thing. Welcome to
That's
Mario
like-
Party 10, the 14th Mario Party.
Yeah, essentially that, Jeff. So there's a lot. Let's just go with quite a few.
A lot. But
I don't
League
know
of
if 14th
Legends
is actually accurate.
Is basically free to play, whereas Grand Theft Auto, every single game you have to pay to play, which I find is a very interesting statistic. Puzzles versus Dragons, I do believe this is a really interesting one. This is a mobile game that is free to play. The mobile game itself, made in 2012, has generated $7.7 billion.
Jeepers.
Puzzles vs. Dragon. I'm pretty sure it's a Japanese game because the franchise owner is Guang Ho Online Entertainment. It's a puzzle matching tile base. I actually played it for a little bit. It's not bad.
I think I've heard of that one. There was like
just-
a Mario version on the 3DS.
Here, this is the title you'll know. Candy Crush
Yeah,
Candy
that's one I've
Crush.
heard a lot.
has generated $7.7 billion over its lifetime revenue.
That's a lot of bees.
Yeah, the Candy Crush saga has generated $5.4 billion by itself. The other games in the franchise have generated $358 million, and one of the offshoots generated $2 billion. So I'm Clash of Clans, $7 billion. And here's where you're going to have a fun little snippet here. Ready? The Donkey Kong games.
The
Ready,
Donkey
Jeff?
Kong games?
Donkey Kong games. $6.8 billion. Candy Crush beat Donkey Kong in profits.
Wait. Like, how?
Oh,
I'm
is
surprised that
in
Donkey
net
Kong is that
sales
high.
or in profits?
That is lifetime revenue.
Okay.
So the Donkey
As
Kong
of 2000
franchise.
As of 2019. Okay? 2019.
Let me ask you
Donkey
this.
Kong. Yeah.
Does that include the arcade games of Donkey Kong
Yes.
Country,
Get
etc.?
ready
Like everything Donkey Kong?
Get ready for this. Donkey Kong from 1981 generated $4.4 billion.
That's actually surprising to me. Like, I haven't
Of
even
its
heard Pokemon or
6.8.
Mario yet. Like,
Oh, no.
jeepers, Donkey Kong is higher?
Pokemon. Well, I didn't get to the heavy hitters. I just wanted to go to ones that are free to play and have ones that were comparable to people that beaten it.
Wait, hang on. Free to play Donkey Kong?
No, there's no free to play.
No,
But I
no,
was
he
comparing it to
listed some
Candy
free to
Crush.
plays, and now he's naming us some series that are some franchises that are in the same ballpark as those free to plays.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Like, there's
Gotcha.
a ton
That's
of
a
money.
free to play model.
Get ready for this fun one. Ready? Star Wars. Guess where it falls in this chart? Gross revenue.
I don't know. I'd say in the
number
10
15.
billion.
$6 billion.
6 billion.
That is the smallest one I have listed so far.
Well, Star Wars is a movie franchise. A lot of the games have been. How do I
True.
put this delicately? Hot garbage.
Yeah.
Well, you want to hear some interesting,
Thanks,
interesting
EA.
numbers? No, listen to this interesting
I'm not even
fact.
talking about the modern ones. Just think about
From-
all the different ones they made over the years.
Well, listen to this. From 1982 to 2015, they have made $4 billion.
Wait,
Total.
from when to when?
1982, their first game, to 2015, they have made $4 billion.
So the last $2 billion was in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Last 4. It's not counting 2020 because it hasn't been a full year yet. But console and PC, $1 billion. Mobile games, $1 billion.
And mobile games actually own a very large market share of the video game industry. I mean, we can talk about that at a later time, but
Well, let me just put in the most people that have disposable income have a phone.
yes. Yeah,
While
a huge install size.
consoles or even a computer they would play a game on is
It's like, oh great, the PlayStation 4 sold 110 million units this console generation. Hey, that's a ton, right? It is for a video game console. How many people have cell phones? 4 billion? Got it. All right.
Yeah, no, it's like there's just so many more cell phone users, and there's sort of a convenience factor. Like, it's with you all the time, and a lot of mobile games are sort of the thing, like you're sitting in the subway bored to tears. Like, it's something you can do, like, while you're sitting waiting for stuff. It comes with you.
Oh, wow. I didn't know Black Desert Online was here.
Yeah, it's
I
a big
played that.
franchise.
It is. It is.
I mean, the numbers I'd
But-
like to know is something like, wow. What's that up
Oh, you want to know? Oh, you want to? I'm staying away from the heavy hitters because the heavy hitters don't have a lot of free to play. And
Well, yeah,
WoW
but give
isn't
me some
huge.
numbers for the big boys.
Big boys. Well, can I do a big boy that isn't as big as you think, and then the big boys? Okay, so which one do you think is bigger, Fortnite, or let's see, what's a good one? Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
That's it, Pac-Man.
Pac-Man's been
Oh.
around for 40 years. Fortnite's only had 4.
Yep.
So Pac-Man could literally make a tenth as much per year and still beat them.
Pac-Man, the original game, made $12.8 billion.
Jeez.
Miss Pac-Man made $1.2 billion.
Oh, that's the one I had.
Fortnite, in its lifetime, this is where it's scary because Fortnite, the free-to-play and the original that me and Adam played,
Yes.
Has-
Come on.
has generated $4.5 billion.
Yeah.
Miss Pac-Man.
So Pac-Man wins. Your heavy hitters are Mario, Pokemon, Call of Duty.
Yeah,
so Mario,
those would be
Makes
the
sense.
big ones.
yeah, Mario is an estimated lifetime revenue of $32.4 billion.
I mean, considering he's been in 200 games, that makes sense.
Yeah, but here's the catch. His 200 games don't beat the original. The original Super Mario, lifetime revenue of $17 billion.
I mean, how many times has everybody bought that game?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And think about how long that game's been around compared to. I mean, we're comparing.
35 years, gentlemen.
Yeah, 35 years. League of Legends has been around for 10, and it has over half of its revenue.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Yep. Pokemon.
So, talk to me in 25 years. Let's see where some of these things land.
uh-huh.
But
Pokemon
that's
is,
something you have to keep in mind is these games that are classics that everyone has bought dozens of times. You've had years and years and years to accrue, incidental revenue. And they dominated the market so completely there weren't nearly as many options back then.
Yes. Okay. Now I can speak. So, with these numbers being thrown around, because Adam and Jeff
Hit me
wanted
with
to hear what the
Pokemon
big
and Call
was.
of Duty, and then we can.
Okay, Pokemon is 19.5 billion as of last year, and Call of Duty was 18.1 billion as of last year.
Many, many billions. But what does this
And
all mean,
the
Dan?
one after it, Dungeon Fighter Online. Is this
I've never even heard of that.
multiplayer beat 'em up action role playing game? Is it free to play? Originally released in South Korea.
So it was an Asian release game. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
All right, well, Dan, what do all these numbers lead to?
Like, what was your
Space
point in bringing them all up?
Invaders! Oh my god! Sorry, I just saw Space Invaders. It's on It's on the top charts. It's made 13.9 billion.
The game's been around for forever, and everybody's bought it multiple times.
Yes.
Holy cow!
What was
But
your
still-
point?
Anyway, so my point here is, I wanted to. Well, the original point down here before you wanted me to list the expensive ones, since I had the information, was that these free-to-play games aren't just free. They're generating revenue that is surpassing well-known titles that everyone has heard about that are fully pay-to-play. So they're not losing money with the fact that these games are free. However, also on the market, some of these free-to-play games are cheaply made because there couldn't be money invested in them. So then it comes to the interesting debate of what are the benefits of a free-to-play game versus the benefits of a pay-to-play game.
Well, the primary one that kind of why free-to-play games are a thing is, or one of the reasons why they are a thing, is when you're talking about multiplayer games, like League, or Fortnite, like Battle Royales, just in general, League, any of these games where you're playing against other people in quantity, you need a huge server population to keep queue times down if you want to be able to keep playing games. Because if there's not a ton of people playing online, then you're going to be waiting in queue for forever for more people to come in. So, if you aren't basically, if like a battle royale mode or something, or a MOBA isn't basically hooked onto the coattails of a large, well-established franchise that is going to sell, a lot of units and be like widely distributed,
Call of Duty,
it's
for
hard
example.
to keep enough of a player base going. It's hard to attract enough of a player base to like keep the queue times low, and there be enough games, and when you start talking about them in a competitive sense, that there be a sufficient server density, that there are enough people playing that when you gradate them out into their rankings, their competitive ranking, that you can have a reasonable amount of queue times and such. Like, there's enough that you're not basically ranking, low ranked with high ranked people. There's enough people that you have a nice gradation of ranks to match them up, so that you can have a pretty narrow window of ranks in any given game if it's competitive. So that's the big thing, is that, especially for competitive or large battle royales, to attract enough people to to attract enough people to keep server density up and queue times down. That's why free to play was a thing in many ways. That's
Now, what you said there is very valid.
yeah, but there are others. That's just.
But I think
one
we
reason.
glossed over the there was an assumption there, obviously. In that the reason that there are so many people in the free to play, so that the queue times are low, the reason that they're there is because it's free to play. You don't have to pay to get started.
Mhm.
And I know that's kind of obvious. Duh, it's free to play. But
Not as
like,
obvious as you think.
But like that makes a lot of sense, that in order to keep queue times low, you want to attract as many people as possible to play it, so you don't charge for it to start out with.
All right, so that is one of the tactics. But let's go to a game. This would have been great if
So
Henry was here.
that's like one
But-
reason you'd make it free to play. And I was gonna
Right.
say, this
What
is
about-
for like games that come in and are like that are in these markets in particular. Like,
Mhm.
if you already have a major established franchise and you can get the player base, then it doesn't matter as much. You can buy it in. But that's just that's one reason why like that model is common for certain types of multiplayer games.
Makes sense to me.
There are other reasons, and we'll get on to those. Go on, Daniel.
All right. I was going to say, when we talk about free to play, what's interesting is if we look at games that try to intersect at a middle point, from there we can see there's a unique difference between pay to play and free to play because of this. Let's go to World of Warcraft, because this example I think will hit Adam quite nicely. World of Warcraft, for the first 20 levels, the game is free to play. After it, it becomes a pay to play subscription base. What is your opinion on that?
Sounds interesting.
That's its own thing.
There's a similar example. That's more of my niche. You guys remember when Super Mario Run came to phones?
Mm-hmm.
Vaguely.
Super Mario Run was a mobile game, and it was free to try. You got to play the first 4 levels, and you could play those 4 levels as much as you want, do your daily challenges, but if you wanted the rest of the game, you had to pay flat $10.
$10?
Yes.
For an app.
Yep.
That is almost unheard of. Almost.
But what I'm getting at is that's a similar model that helps me understand where you're going with this.
Right.
Yeah, if we think about like old time video games, you used to get like the first half of the game for free, and then they would ask you to buy the whole game so you could play the rest of it.
When you say old time games, which games
Think
are you
like
referring
the
to?
original Doom
Demo
Quake era.
discs? Oh, wow.
I'm not as familiar with that side.
Yeah, no, because you're on Nintendo. I don't believe they did that necessarily as much. But like developers during that time would they'd give you the first half of the game for free, and then ask you to buy the second
I
half
didn't
or
know
the
that
last
was a thing.
2/3.
Mm-hmm.
It was. You can actually see it. Some older games, like all the good shit is in the first third of the game to suck you into it, and then sometimes the last bits get kind of repetitive, and you don't get any more really cool guns and everything because they wanted to put all the little boondoggles that drag you into the first bit to get you to buy it. So it makes some weird pacing in some of those
It's a
older
trap.
games. I mean, it's not that the games weren't still good. It's just it made the pacing.
It was
and,
very front loaded.
Yeah, and your power curve was a little weird. They put all the flashy boondoggly bits in the first chunk of the game to suck you in. So, the later game could get kind of flat and repetitive sometimes, or it was a little, or the power curve was kind of weird because, because they're trying to suck you in. It's just an interesting note about older games.
Right. And there's also a thing about older games when they're a smaller company and they're trying to generate revenue due to, reserves. Like the games being reserved and whatnot to help them with production. Kind of like before we went into the era of alpha and beta, which
we'll get to.
Oh my gosh, that's just
That's
it can't be good, it can't be bad.
On for that.
Yeah. Another game I like to talk about is that to my heart that hit me personally was Sly Cooper, the Time one. What's the fourth one? I can't even remember its name. Thieves Through Time. That game.
Thieves in Time. I believe.
Well, if you played the demo, it's the whole first world. Well, you didn't know it was the first world, but it was really cinematic, really well condensed, and it was really quick and really fun. And it gave you a tutorial of the first, of you playing Bentley and you playing Murray. But here's the thing, when the official game got released, we're so used to the first and second and third games, the progression of them just becoming a bigger, more fulfilling world with really well-written plot. Well, the second was really well-written. The third one was more of we're doing everything! It was such a good way to end the series. But in the fourth one, the demo was the first world. And there's only, 4 worlds. So you finish the first world, and it just feels so small. It felt like this is a world, we're in feudal Japan with a ninja Sly Cooper. Why did I only get the chance to play as him for 2 seconds? And that was a huge downfall because they marketed the whole front part of the game, but towards the end they actually they expanded it, made it a bit bigger, but in the end that game was so short.
All right, so
Sly
we're
4
touching
is
on
so short.
we're touching on a couple of different topics here.
Yeah, we're kind of getting out of the realm here if we're talking about free to play.
So I want to bring us back to
but...
the central point.
But-
We're discussing
the free to
we're discussing pay to play versus free to play, and I kind of want to talk about,
that was a sad pay to play.
the
Sorry.
I want to talk about the games that are either free to play or pay to play. Like the demos are a different thing. Like demos are meant to hook you into a game that is pay to play. A free to play game is one that in my mind, the definition of a free to play game is one that you can play all the way through and never spend a dime.
But then you get into the fact that some free to plays. Oh my gosh, Adam, Wizard 101.
That game was free to play?
That took me back to freaking high school. It was free to play to like level 4.
All right, once again,
every time you had to go farther in the game, you had to actually spend money. But it was free to play, 100%. You could
I would call that more free to start. So again, we're focusing on the free to play, not the free to starts.
Yeah, there's a difference there. We're talking about true free to plays, where you could theoretically, like League of Legends, where you never have to spend any money. The only thing that they're monetizing, you can buy champions in League. You could buy more of them. You will unlock them given time. Just over time you'll gain the experience and stuff. Just by playing the game, you'll slowly unlock the champions that you want. And I've never spent money to unlock champions, but you could spend money to unlock champions. But mostly they monetize skins, emotes, icons, all sorts of cosmetics and paraphernalia. They monetize.
So guys,
and that's a model. But I guess when we talk about free to plays, we should discuss their monetization models, because they do have to make money somewhere.
Yes. So a pay to play game, the monetization strategy used to be very clear cut, but we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
So back in the day, let's go back to before downloads really became a thing. Pay to play games. If I were to, I grabbed this cartridge earlier just for demonstration purposes, so we'll roll with this. If I were to buy Miss Pac-Man on the Super Nintendo,
sorry, continue.
You pay one price.
Our listeners cannot see what you're doing.
Yes, the viewers can't see what I'm doing. I'm holding it up in front of the camera for Adam and Daniel to see. I do, in fact, own Miss Pac-Man on the Super Nintendo. All right. Anyway, the point is, back then, you would pay one flat cost, and you would get the whole game. You never have to pay for it again. And obviously the reason for that is it's a strictly physical medium. They can't monetize it any further, at least back in the 90s. So that's pay to play in its primary monetary sort of setup. A free to play game focuses on getting a large install base and then getting that large install base, or even just a few people in the large install base, to spend money on microtransactions. What are the benefits of that? Where is that a good thing?
Explain good, because there's always a good and bad side to something. Yeah.
All right. Let me rephrase the question. So we have the pay to play model. We have the free to play model. Now,
we have all the other models.
Free to play models seem to be getting to be more
popular.
Yeah, more popular. Why is that? There must be an advantage to that.
Because they can suck you in with the free to play aspect of it, and then they can milk you for monetization over a longer period of time, and probably get more out of you than if you paid the upfront bit. And how can I say this? I don't mind the League of Legends model where you're paying for cosmetics and stuff. So if you can play the entire game, and essentially, no matter how much money you put into it, you are, in a competitive sense like that, always still competitive, whether
equal.
You've paid.
Yeah, it
no
retains
money
a skill matchup.
Any money, if you've paid, if it's just all cosmetic stuff, that's fine, and I think that's a the good model. It means there's a lot of people playing the game because it is free to play, and then some percentage of that want to like deck out their characters and like and they'll pay for it, and that's I don't mind that model at all. It's when you get into these ones where it's like, well, it's free to play, and like I also don't mind the ones where it's essentially like a single player game. You're not really competing against anyone directly, and and then and like you can play at this slow pace, or you can pay this money into it. And that one, I find them obnoxious, and I tend not to play them. But like the idea is that they've created this. Like sometimes they create this game, and I swear the idea is just to see how much money they can get out of people. Like they're gonna
there's a lot of intrusive ones.
Yeah, and then they're gonna try and like it's free to play, but then they're gonna but we can make it easier for you if you pay this money, and it's never a reasonable amount. Like it's like, I'd pay $10 for this game if it was just like on Steam as a one-time download, or I can essentially pay hundreds of dollars over the lifetime of the game to like get the same experience as like the $10. Ugh. Like those ones really can. They sort of irritate me, but I just don't play them.
I think that's a word I like to use for microtransactions. Irritating.
Yeah. It's those. Yeah.
I think part of it is the fact that I'm a cheapskate, and when I play I play a free to play game, I try to get through it without spending a single dime. I am a free to play developer's worst nightmare.
Actually, you could be a free developer's best friend because of what you just said.
No,
you will
I'm
draw
not saying
more
that.
people. He'll draw more people in because they'll go, it's actually free to play, and then some of them will go, well, I really want this, and they'll might naturally start losing money due to the social construct.
I mean that's largely dependent on my social influence. But I get your point. Like, I can bring more people in by saying, hey, I'm not spending any money on this game. You don't have to if you don't want to.
One of the top 10 things in video games that helps a lot is free advertising. Having a strong player base that naturally advertises for you really can generate could just generate free income. It's almost passive advertising, and that means free income.
It's just how sometimes these microtransactions and stuff can start to feel almost
intrusive,
predatory.
Predatory is another good word for it.
What's the word? Well, because like as an adult, like sometimes I find myself like, I could just spend the $5 and deal with this, or the $20, or whatever the thing is. I could, and then I'm like, I'm big boy. I'm not going to. But like,
I'm a responsible adult. Hear me roar.
Younger kids and stuff. I feel like they get sucked right into that.
Mommy, can I see your credit card for a second?
Yeah.
Did you know that? Did you know that happened once?
A little sketchy there. It's like, and like there are games where I'll like, well, I'll spend $5 on this, and I'll do it once, but then like if it's like asking for it again, it's like no, you got it once. Like that's your little bit. Like if I like the game and I'm going to play it for a while, I'll spend what I would consider, like if I've played the game for like 5-10 hours or something, at that point I'm like, $5 isn't like, if it's something that like I really feel like it would like enhance my experience a lot to do, I was like, I'll put in a few, like I'm not going to, almost like the idea of I played it a whole bunch and like I've got my money's worth already here. You can have like, here's some money for, you get the idea. Like if I've put a ton of hours into a game and I've really enjoyed it, at that point, I don't mind paying some money at that point. It's at that point it's less about what I'm getting precisely for that transaction and it being like, tipping a pianist or so, like, rewarding someone for their creative work. Like, wow, you really did a good job here. Like, here's a $10 bill or something.
All right, Dan, you look like you're pondering. And what are you?
Like,
what are we
so
thinking?
like I will spend very rarely. I am not quite as much as a cheapskate as you, but
Nope.
close, very close.
I looked up a quick article in which an NBA analysis went to the store to buy something and his credit card was denied. It's because when he got his credit card bill, he found out that someone had spent $16,000 on Fortnite with his credit card.
16. What do you even buy for $16,000 in Fortnite?
That's cosmetics. That's all cosmetics.
I could pay off my car for that. Why are you? What? Why would you?
Like I can't even conceive of that. Let me put it this way: someone says I spent $100 on cosmetics and something, and I'm like, was it over 10 years of playing it? And then I'm like, okay, sure. Like if you told me all time you'd spent, let's say you started playing League when it first came out, and you spent $100-$200 on stuff in the game since then over like 10 years, I'd be like, okay, like I would roll my eyes a little bit, but I'd be like, okay, like I could, like, over that much time, I can see it. You probably have, you've gotten your worth out of this game many times over. But like 16, like anything, you're getting anywhere near $1,000. Like anything above like 1 or 2 in that first of those 3 digits, and I'm like, you spent that on a game? I'm like, why don't you just start buying like sports cars at that point? Like, Lord alive.
Why don't you start buying stocks in the stock market?
Yeah, like, why don't you just buy a house?
Company.
Like, good Lord.
Nah, I'd rather spend $16,000 on Fortnite.
Like, I can't, like,
you could spend
and like it would be on cosmetics, something
market.
so pointless. Like, it doesn't change your experience in the game at that point. Like, you could only wear like one set of cosmetics at a time. Like it starts to feel like some, they
want to have that
like
giant walk-in
society
closet.
queen. Like every 10 minutes, she's gonna go change her dress. Like, or something like that. Like, at dinner I'm wearing this, for dessert I'm wearing this, for after dinner drinks I'm wearing this,
And I just have to have a backup just in case something happens to the other 53.
and it would probably be cheaper to do that too.
Probably.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Probably.
that's just like I can't even comprehend. Like, that amount is just
and to tell Adam, this is the best way to explain it.
It's just
you buy cosmetics by converting that money into V-Bucks. Dude, Adam, do you know how many?
That's a lot of V-Bucks.
That's a lot of V-Bucks.
Like, I don't know how much it would cost to buy every single skin in League of Legends, but like,
I doubt it would be that much.
yeah, I would be shocked if it was that much. Like, now they do have like little legends and emotes, and there's a lot of other stuff too, but like, even then, like, a couple $1,000 should pretty much clean out the store in like League or something. Like, because League is I keep coming back to League. That is like the free to play game that I have played for a very long time, and I have a lot of experience with. So that's where, like, I keep coming back to is like is something I understand really well, and a lot of people play it. So hopefully it's generally well understood.
Adam, I have the knowledge. Are you ready?
He has the answers.
I have the answers in the book of power.
Oh boy.
It says Adam's going to know exactly what this means. I'll translate it for Jeff in a bit. However, a battle pass in
Fortnite.
Fortnite. Thank you. My brain just went. Bleh! A battle pass in Fortnite costs 950 V-Bucks. Okay, that is $8 worth of V-Bucks. That's you get 1,000 for $8. Okay, I'll go to the largest amount because this person
if
probably
you're buying it in bulk, you get
bulk.
a better ratio, I think.
Yes, it is. And because he spent 16,000, we can do some good math because of the number he picked.
$1 per, like, if you're buying
$80 buys you 13,500 V-Bucks. $80 will buy you 13,500 V-Bucks. What does that mean? Times that by 2, so 27,000, and that'll be for
$160.
Times that by 100. He had 2,700,000 V-Bucks.
The battle pass is less than 1,000.
9.
Dear goodness.
And here's the main thing: legendary cosmetics, 2,000 V-Bucks. Legendary, that's the most expensive as they get. 2,000. What did he buy?
Like,
Did he just want to be prepared for all the future expansions?
Like I
mean, I would never do this. I would never steal $16,000 from anyone. But if I did, it would not go to Fortnite. I promise you that.
like no, like it's just like
Oh.
it's so pointless.
Well,
Like
here's the thing:
holy fuck.
Fortnite's main thing has always been sort of a social sales. I mean, you have the whole thing with the one streamer that went over to the other thing. He was a
Ninja.
Fortnite streamer, Ninja. All these people that sort of hyped up Fortnite sort of did back in our day, go back to the early days of YouTube. Some of those people used to be who we looked up to. To be honest, though, we got lucky and didn't get people that were like, yo, check out this skin, and we got all these, like, who had that whole scandal, money scandal? Because he kept a YouTuber.
Okay, we're starting
So
to
many.
drift pretty far off topic.
Yeah,
here.
we're getting way off topic. We are talking about
I'm
microtransactions, and clearly,
Yes.
like, there's
how
some pretty big
people
downsides to it.
Well, there's
Like,
there's
I-
upsides and downsides. Upsides, it can
Yes.
generate money
Let's talk about the
for the
upsides,
company. It can generate money for the company while allowing the player to gain bonuses in game for sort of a donation to their company by giving them a digital, sort of a digital
See, that's
thank
the
you
thing.
for their
Like when you
donation.
say it like that, like
It's not a donation
you're
to the
giving-
company.
like,
I
it's
say it donation because there's no
basically,
value.
I feel like
Yeah.
companies do
Except-
it on this model because they feel like they can get more money out
Yes.
of it this way.
Real
like, they
quick.
feel like they can reap
All right.
more benefits long term.
Yeah, real quick. I that actually brings up one thing I did want to talk about. I pulled up a thing for this. So one
I
of
pulled up
the
a lot of
things
things.
about free to play that I'm thinking of, one of the advantages for the developer, is that free to plays, ironically enough, tend to drive more money. Like they usually get more money than a pay to play game. Now, we mentioned earlier Genshin Impact. All of us have been playing it recently. It is a free to play game.
They have a great system set up, but
They
that's
do.
for
Now
a gotcha system. which-
here's my thing with Genshin Impact. It's a free to play game, and I'm gonna compare that real quick. I know this is a comparison that a lot of
No.
people make, but
Go ahead.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild was
Mhm.
a very similar type of game. There's differences, obviously, but they're pretty much in the same genre. It
Yes.
was a pay-to-play game. That is a $60 game that you buy and just get the experience. So, this is not a perfect comparison because, you know, the install bases for both of these are significantly different in size.
Yeah. Also,
However-
and just to cut right in there real quick, if you wanted to play Breath of the Wild, like you had to be playing on a Nintendo system, while
Yes.
while
Either the
Genshin
Wii U or the
is-
Switch.
is
Whereas Genshin
computer
Impact is
and-
PlayStation 4, PC, Android, and iOS currently.
Yeah.
And it's going to Switch later.
Yeah. So.
So
much
the install
wide-
bases are insanely different.
Mhm.
And Daniel, if you can look up the number of downloads for me for Genshin Impact, that would actually be really helpful for my point here.
I don't know if they've released them yet. because
Yes, they would. They would totally want to brag about first week
but it just came
downloads.
out.
You know what they did brag about though? And
Okay,
you know what? Hang on. First week sales. I'm going to compare the first week sales of these two games.
Yeah, 'cause that's
First
about all
week
we
sales
can at
of
the
Zelda
moment.
Breath of the Wild in total is about 230,000 copies in the first week. It's pretty respectable, especially considering that it's on a brand new console and a console that didn't do so well. 230,000 copies. If you go ahead and do the math, that's $13,800,000 in the first week.
Mm-hmm.
How many downloads were there in the first week, Daniel, of Genshin Impact?
I'm looking.
Well, I have a different number here. This game, Genshin Impact, a free-to-play game, in its first week, brought in $60 million in profit. First week, $60 million.
In profit or revenue?
I'm assuming revenue.
Revenue, yeah.
So both of these are revenue. They both, like, Genshin Impact brought in $60 million. That is over 4 times the amount that Zelda Breath of the Wild made. And that's a free-to-play game.
Here's some interesting information.
I mean, I really don't, like, the games are very similar, but, like...
I know it's a different situation because of the install bases.
Different. There's a lot more places that Genshin Impact was downloaded, and remember also this was the flagship game of a new console, so like flagship game of a new console, so like Nintendo is making money off the Switch sales that come in, and not a lot of people had Wii U's, so you had to wait for.
All right, yeah, that's an excellent point.
So people to buy Switches, and that takes. There's some lag time there.
That also brings
because
up
remember, weren't there shortages of Switches originally?
Yes, Daniel, you're trying to make a point.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Adam was on a tirade.
I was on a tirade. I was just like,
no, you had a full.
I had a point about why those numbers would be different.
Yeah. But here's the interesting fact I'd like to state between the two. One of them, Nintendo restricted and made it only to their Nintendo Switch for the game to be played. Genshin Impact, because it was originally a mobile game. It is fully designed to be played on the phone. That's why it's a little clunky on a computer. But you can play this game on your phone, and you can play this game on the computer, which means its accessibility isn't limited to like only Apples or only Androids.
That's the difference. Remember, Nintendo probably still thinks it's a good deal. How many people bought Switches just to play?
Yes.
Just to play Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I know you did, and that's why I'm like saying, like, I'm sure a lot of people just bought Switches, and I'm pretty sure Nintendo makes money off of all the Switches it sold too. So,
all right. Also, I want to just go back to one real quick thing.
Motivation there. Yeah.
I did find the number of first week downloads for Genshin Impact. That game was down 23 million times in the first week.
No, that's 23 million times in Android and iOS alone during its first week. That's on phones. There's 23 million downloads. Yeah. It was downloaded 23 million times on Android and iOS alone during its first week.
And remember here, remember here, Genshin Impact released in a lot more than just America.
Right, it's a Chinese developer that released...
Remember, China is an enormous market for video games, so this type of thing now.
So I guess that kind of does, underwrite my point a little bit, but, the free-to-play games do tend to profit the company more. And I think that, even though it's got like Genshin Impact as compared to Breath of the Wild has a much larger install base, that's also a benefit of having free to play is you don't have that barrier of entry. It's free to play. You can just download it and try it. And that's motivation enough to get plenty of people in there.
Yeah. And, for example, I have not spent any money on the game, and I've had plenty.
Oh, yeah, neither have I.
Yeah,
and you got 5-star.
So far, it seems perfectly reasonable as a free-to-play game. Now, I do have some friends, some acquaintances that play it a lot more. No, not you, Dino. That play it way more aggressively, and they say that, and I want to specify that this is a little different here, is that they are way ahead of us. They have hard played the game since it came out, and have really, really pushed in a super intense time and played it. And they say it's starting to bog down, get kind of grindy for them. And
especially since
But like as I'm playing at a slower pace and I'm like collecting daily and weekly awards that go along, I'm not feeling it really at all.
To be honest, I do all
Like
the career
I'm not feeling that grind sink in yet. I haven't. Yeah,
It's a very
they're playing it at such an accelerated pace. They're playing it like you would play Breath of the Wild, and I'm not treating it quite like that game because there's a lot of benefit for logging in every day and just doing like the daily missions and stuff. And so it turns the game into a habit, which means you'll play it a lot longer, which is, part of the sucking in mechanic of the game. But like at the same time, I haven't really felt the need to spend any money on it. I might buy the battle pass because I've got so many levels in it at this point that
right. So
all the extra stuff I would get for like the $10 is pretty staggering.
Speaking of profits and Genshin Impact, over the last 2 weeks, in less than 2 weeks of it being launched, it had generated a little over $100 million in 2 weeks.
it's a lot.
Yeah, well,
and the game's not even fully done
understand
yet.
with Genshin Impact, it exploded. Like, so many people are playing it. Like, I have videos in my YouTube feed from both people I watch and just general YouTubers just, like, popping my feed playing Genshin Impact. Like, it's
which means free
super
advertising.
popular, like, almost overnight. And so, like, sort of a self-sustaining reaction. It's now the flavor of the month type thing. So we'll see how things settle long term. But a point I was going to bring up is that with some of these, like models where they're like certain types of game models don't work well as what we're talking about is like a single pay to play, like buy it for $60, you have the whole game. It's almost a different type of game when they're like I said, wow, like games where they're constantly adding new stuff, like, and the game is like a continual upkeep type thing where the developers are constantly working on it. That does require, a constant stream of revenue to pay for all those people working on and maintaining and operating the game. And so, like, so games that are like a book, like they're a single story you read from beginning to end in a vaguely linear fashion, even those work better as you pay once, you buy the whole story, and then you play it, and then you're done. And then models where there's a lot more upkeep and the game keeps expanding and there's more and more stuff, that's where you start to see different models have to come in, because you can't do that with a pay-to-play game unless you just keep stacking expansions onto it to unlock more and more stuff, which can get clunky in its own right. But
yeah, Adam, I gotta tell you, man, like, it's like you're in my brain. This is the next point I wanted to talk about, is like,
yeah.
But first, I'll let Daniel take the floor.
Oh no, I'm gonna have a branching topic. Please, Jeff.
Okay, so
Please.
So Adam touched on something I really wanted to hit on, is that free to play versus pay to play, they're two very different beasts. And the reason for that is that,
at least in the revenue department.
Yeah, like they're different revenue models, and that shapes the gameplay like model, that shapes the genre that you're going for, that shapes a lot. And that is mostly because I feel that with a pay-to-play game, at least back in the day, it was a one-time purchase. It was a self-contained experience that, I mean, you could play as many times as you wanted, but it's one self-contained experience. It's not meant to keep you in for very long. A free-to-play game benefits more from people that are highly invested, that spend tons, hundreds, thousands of hours in the game, are just playing it up for years, because they're more likely to spend more money on it. That like Adam was saying, that shapes what kinds of games can be free to play versus what kinds of games can be pay to play. An example that we brought up last podcast, Hollow Knight. It's a $15 game. It's a self-contained experience.
Is it still 15?
It is still 15 as far as I know. It might go on sale for like the Steam fall sale and whatnot, but it's
Maybe.
a $15 game. It's a self-contained experience. If they have added to it, but there's a sequel in the works. They're pretty much moving on from the original Hollow Knight, and that's to be expected from a pay-to-play game. A free-to-play game is much different in that you will most likely see updates, patches, downloads, expansions for years to come, because the longer that company supports that game, the longer more people play it, the more money they make from it. Now, that really drives what genres can be what model. What models would you guys say most suitably fit the free-to-play games?
Well, competitive, like where
My brain.
servers are required. Like you're competing against other people, or you're playing with a ton of other people, so you're playing on a server somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to because there's so many people involved, you're playing it on a server. That's where the free to play, like trying to get money from you long term type models come in, because they have to pay for the server upkeep, and they have to keep the servers running.
Right, and
That's where,
if
like,
you
Warcraft,
have a competitive game there, like you're most likely to pay money in it to keep up with other people. Like you want to either
that's
grind,
the thing. Like I really hate it if like you have to stay competitive, you have to spend money.
Mhm.
Then at that point, like pay to win is a very different thing than
that's sucky.
Yeah, and so
Right.
so if it's competitive, not don't want any sort of gameplay affecting things.
Yeah, I guess that
Changing.
the main draw there is that like with competitive, you're spending more time in it, and I guess no matter what the pricing model for that free to play game, the longer you're in it, the more likely you are to pay money for it.
Yeah, and
Like,
plus,
to go
if
back to
you're
your
really
example
good at
of
that
League
game,
of
like, you want to
Legends.
have like the fancy thing to show off to your friends, while you're playing
Yeah,
it and stuff.
and like to go back to your example of League of Legends, like that's a competitive game. It's free to play. And no matter how much money you spend on it, it's not going to affect you in any sort of way other than buying the characters. But the longer you spend in the game, the more likely you are to be like, hey, that person has a cool skin. I want that.
Mhm.
I feel like League of Legends has a good model there where it's not an intrusive monetary scheme, but the longer you're in it, the more likely you are to pay for the game. And that's why they are successful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think also because it became like a major esport and stuff, that gets it a lot. It's really funny. Like for years, the esports were completely fun. This is a different model than a lot of other esports, but the League of Legends esports were completely funded by Riot Games off the profits they made from the game to push the game to like show it to more people, to like, and that's why like every like the accounts that the pros get, like for when they're playing on stage, have every skin unlocked, or almost all the skins unlocked, so they can play with
Dude, they're
whatever
whales.
skin they want. Because then it's like, oh,
They're
this
the
pro
whales
plays with
that
that skin. I
free-to-play
want
people
that
love.
skin. Like there was all sorts of but like in more recent years, they've actually like been trying to switch that off, so that they're no longer essentially. I mean, they're of course still like hosting everything, but like that the esports, like the like they're running a lot, but like they have more sponsors now for both the overall show and the individual teams putting in money. So like they're trying to get it now where like it's like self-sustaining. Like they're not like they're actually it's at least self-sustaining, and or they're gaining money from the sponsorships directly.
Mm-hmm.
So that just an interesting switch that they're going through there. But like they literally created the esport as a way to push the game so that it was more visible and more people would play it, and
That makes sense.
more
Yeah.
people would play it competitively.
Also, Adam, have you noticed how many advertisements for League of Legends are on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed
just-
how many advertisements they're playing in the breaks in Worlds?
Oh my gosh. It's a Honda advertisement in League of Legends.
Mercedes, State Farm, Red Bull. Oppo,
It's like-
the phone. Those are the ones that stick in my mind.
Oh yeah, they just keep repeating those, but it's like what
They've got some cool ones too. They make some really cool. Like they're almost they're not. They're like Super Bowl commercials almost. Like some of them are like that entertaining to me. Some of them aren't.
Yeah,
but there's
they're
like
very
one or two.
custom made.
Like I
Very
legit
custom.
wish I could find like a YouTube video of that one Oppo commercial because I want to like. Anyway, like
You can
it's
probably
actually
find it.
that good. But anyway, but I'm getting way off topic. But like, just an interesting like the model of League of Legends is League of Legends became so big that it's almost like not applicable anymore because it's like it's. You know,
I mean, I don't know. It's still free to play. It still has that pricing model in place.
It is, but like it's so successful that like it's so.
I mean, it's in a new realm where it's making money outside of just the microtransactions that people are spending on
like
it.
I said, it's made so much. It's like it's all saying it like this. It's like a stellar phenomena. They've accreted. It's gotten so big that it's created a self-sustaining fusion reaction. It's like it's made the jump from Jupiter to small star, like levels of like. The point I'm trying to make is that like we are holding it up as an example of a free to play game, but everything has went so right with it in terms of like how much the player base, the number of people that have played it, like the amount of money it's pulled in, like how many like I'm sure they've made hard decisions, but like how many like hard decisions have like the developers had? Like they've not been particularly shorted for like money to like make the best game that they could ever make. Like yeah. Like so like we have to put that one with a grain of salt and sense like all games should be like League of Legends, but it's like yeah, but all games are not that successful. So like
no.
Also, I would like to bring up another interesting fact. League of Legends father Dota has only generated, if I remember correctly, $2 billion in total revenue.
Are we talking Dota 2 or Dota? Because those are different things.
I assume
Dota
Dota 2
stands for Defense of the Ancients, and it was like a community like sub-mod /
Here it is.
mode to World of Warcraft. Not World of Warcraft, but Warcraft.
Generally, when people say Dota, though, they like
Dota
they mean
2.
Dota 2,
Here we are.
the standalone game.
Yeah, the MOBA game.
Dota 2
The
from
MOBA.
2015 to 2017 has generated 9.4 million. Million, not billion.
Well,
that's
that's,
like-
904 million. It hasn't even made a billion.
You're
that's
totally
over the
wrong
course
there.
of 2 years, though.
The esport from 2013 to
You're
2019.
wrong there because that's like the prize pool for their international tournament.
Well, I don't think they
stated a
profit off
range.
of it.
He
think-
stated a range between 2015 and 2017.
17.
I don't think he's looking at the right numbers there because that's just not right.
Well, look up. I don't know. Dota 2. What is this? This is highest grossing video game
Anyway,
franchise.
yes, it is not as popular as League of Legends. It's the other big one, but its competitive side is really cool.
Dota.
I've played
2.
Dota. It's whatever. I've played too much League now. Like it's the league is like
You're totally
in my
ensconced
blood,
in
and
League of
so
Legends.
It's too hard.
It's
to
so
change.
simple.
No,
Like
it's more
2017.
complex. It's much more chess-like than League is. It's much more macro-based overall than League. They tend to be slower, more chess-like games. I actually quite like. Sometimes I don't understand the game as tightly as League of Legends, but sometimes I'll watch the competitive stuff because like their international is a huge tournament and it's really cool.
All right. I feel like with this topic,
We've
we're
drifted
getting
so
off.
far off. We need to pull this back, get to the next topic.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple more things I want to talk about in
Okay,
this pay
hit
to
your
play.
points. Yes, get us back on track, Jeff.
But I've lost it. Okay. So
Dota 2 is free to play.
it is. Here's the thing. I want to talk about the different types of microtransactions in free to play games. You know what? No, I don't, because that could be a huge discussion. I gotta think for a second. I'm sorry.
Well, let's do an interesting case study here. Oh, bye phone. My webcam just went as I slapped the table. Let's do an interesting case study here. Now,
Okay, Daniel, I got some numbers here. Back in 2015, Dota was making 18 million per month. And in 2017, they had 406 million. Just in 2017.
so that would be around 900 million.
You
Between
said
those 2
9
days.
million, Daniel. Did you mean 900
Oh, 900.
million?
Yes, 900.
Yeah, for like
million.
2 years, 900 million would be about right. But remember, League is only making about $1 billion a year in revenue. So
Only.
like Dota is at about half the revenue that League
Yeah.
makes
Okay,
All right.
that sounds
a
about right.
year.
Dan,
Well,
did you have another point you wanted to make?
Interesting case study. This is for me and my brother. Jeff, I don't know how much you'll be able to contribute to this, but Fortnite.
I don't care.
No, Adam, think about it. Fortnite. It started out as a pay-to-play game, and then they went free-to-play and made all their profits.
Isn't the PvE version of Fortnite still pay to play?
Yeah.
Yeah,
pay
it's never
for the
changed.
game.
It's never gone to free-to-play.
Dan, I feel like now you're getting in my head because that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is
No,
sometimes
it's a really good topic because it's a great case study because it went from pay to play and had like a very selective group of community. And I've seen the history of this community, and I could talk about what free to play did. But anyway, it had its pay to play. They were doing slow development. They went to free to play, had cosmetics, and it just exploded.
it
because
only
of how
exploded because it
well
was a
suited.
completely different genre there.
Yeah,
But-
it created a whole sub-game using like the engine and assets, and then it became super popular. So like you can't even compare. Just
Well,
like,
there are some games that make that transition from pay to play to free to play
mhm.
and still maintain that same genre. Destiny 2 is one example that I can think of that it was one of those $60 games for a while and then it went free to play. How did that benefit it?
Well, basically because they needed. I'm not 100% sure, but I think most of the time it makes that transition. It's because they need more people playing it. They need more server population to keep the game alive. Because it's got some multiplayer aspect that needs like people online playing it. Like you essentially it's most people are not playing it to play it by themselves as a single person. You can only play it with other people on other computers. It means you have to have a certain server density to keep like even people that
Right.
love the game can't play it if there aren't enough other people that also want to play it. And so they need a certain density of players at all times just to keep the game viable. And so sometimes when games don't get enough exposure, they start to lag out. They become free to play to try and attract some more people and hang on.
Now it seems like the games that go from being pay to play to free to play are generally a specific genre. Competitive shooters are a big one.
Yeah.
But just
Well,
games that are competitive just in general. Well, I guess I can't really say that. Generally, how do I want to phrase this?
if you are directly competing against another person, with some small exceptions of like Smash and stuff, where you're literally in a room with someone. and
That's what was
much
keeping me from saying
more
generally.
casual, usually. I mean, that's very much the exception. But usually, if you're playing against other people, you have to do that online
Yeah.
through
So the-
servers to like.
So the online shooters are generally the ones that seem to benefit from a switch from pay to play to free to play.
Basically, they try and go pay to play to make more money. And when they realize they're not going to get the necessary server density or whatever, they go free to play to try and suck in more people. Which, yeah.
Question.
whatever.
As a result of that, do you think that we'll start seeing more of these shooters, more of these competitive games starting as free to
Jeff?
play.
Jeff,
What?
you do realize we entered the era of the Battle Royale. We're leaving it. We're finally leaving the era of Battle Royale. But the whole thing started with Players Unknown Battleground, PUBG. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people were like, hey, giant battleground. That's really cool. And then you had, what was it? DayZ, the King of the Hill, 100 people fighting it out. Apex Legends, 100 people fighting it out. Fortnite, 100 people fighting it out. Then we had
Call of Duty Blackout.
Call of Duty Blackout, 100 people fighting it out. And it was the same. The problem was each time the next iteration came, it was it was an improvement on the original by like leaps and bounds, but that was it. It was just an upgrade. No, Fortnite added a whole new mechanic.
The thing is, most of these games can change, and so like Fortnite or the big ones that were really successful right off the go, they can keep evolving. And so, unless someone breaks the mold radically, they essentially can never catch up.
I'm like, Genshin.
They can't release a new, better version of Fortnite because Fortnite is evolving into a new, better version of Fortnite. See what I'm saying? Like these living games, as it were.
Right.
Games as a service, almost.
Which is why Epic Games development team is insane. But here's an interesting fact that I would like to state. Okay, this comes down to revenue breakdown. So Fortnite and Players Unknown Battleground came out the same year, 2017. Came out in different parts of the year, but came out in the same year, okay? Players Unknown Battleground in 2017 only made $900 million. Fortnite between 2017 and 2018 made $2.4 billion. Okay?
Yes, because PUBG was a buggy mess.
Players Unknown Battleground in 2018, the premium was $1.2 billion. Fortnite in 2019 made $1.8 billion. So, and then here's an interesting one. PUBG Mobile has generated $3.6 billion. Fortnite Mobile between January and August, so really short time frame, but to give you a hint of it, has generated $293 million. That's it. Between that section of months.
Yeah, well, the problem there is those ranges are also different, that it's hard to compare them.
Mm-hmm.
That's understandable. But I see, as PUBG has gone on...
Why are we bringing this up? What's the point?
Players Unknown Battleground has a higher revenue than Fortnite. By
Not
$1 billion.
all time. I highly doubt for all time.
All time. As of 2020, Players Unknown Battleground has generated $5.6 billion. Fortnite has only generated $4.5. It has generated $1 billion more than Fortnite.
What's your point?
My point is, when these two games, they're very similar. Players Unknown Battleground is a pay-to-play. Fortnite is a free-to-play. And what's happening here is, over time, the money that the pay-to-play is generating is being reinvested into sort of improving the game, adding more aspects. Fortnite is a free-to-play. People can join that game without a money commitment. So they can technically grow, but instead of all the teenagers and whatnot that are finally stopped stealing their dad's credit card or have disappeared, as the hype of Fortnite is dying down, the people that are joining aren't investing in it as much. Whereas Players Unknown Battleground...
Those numbers don't necessarily support that theory. I would need a more... I need a core... Like, I doubt you can find it because these are companies, but you'd need a quarterly breakdown of various income types to make that assessment there. So, like, we can't make declarations like that because we don't have that kind of data. And I don't, do we really want to get that deep into the weeds? I was trying to answer Jeff's original question, which is, will more of these games start out going free to play? And I think the answer is for the bigger companies that keep releasing them. No, because they can get more. They can milk people for $60 right out the door to get into. But for I think smaller releases, if someone's trying to break into the market, it might well be a free to play to try and get enough people playing it to like get her off the ground. But I also think that the market, like, it's very hard to break into these larger markets because basically because unlike
the larger markets have
unlike traditional console games where you buy it, you play it through, maybe you love it, you play it through 3 or 4 times, then you're like, it's going to be a year before there's another one of these. What am I going to do in the meantime? Look up, what's the next best version in this genre? Like, in the MOBA genre, there's Dota 2 and there's, League of Legends. And then there's, like, Smite and, maybe Heroes of the Storm. But, like, a very small number of games basically have choked out all the others because there's no reason usually to stop playing one of those games if that's what you want to play. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you want to play a MOBA, you will probably play the MOBA of your choice, and you will just always play that MOBA because it will it's always there, and it's not like you're going to play that storyline enough times to get bored because it's not a storyline, it's a competitive thing. And so it's much harder to break into those markets unless you have something new and flashy, in other words, to crack it in. Or if we're talking about like the Battle Royale markets, you basically are appending it to the new Call of Duty or whatever, where people are just buying it because it's the new Call of Duty. See? Like, I think that this type of game, and the reason why big developers are moving towards that style in some ways, is that you suck people into this this game where, like, they want people sucked in and playing, like, instead of, well, I'm going to play the story campaign for, however many hours. It's a long one. Let's say it's a 60 or 100-hour story campaign. It's a marathon motherfucker of an RPG. Well, then I do finally finish it, and I go on to something else while I wait for the next one. They want you to keep playing this, whatever game again and again until, for the end of time in essence, or until they release the new version. They put new shiny pants on it. So, like, I think that's like part of the reason is audience retention.
And that goes back to, free-to-play games wanting to keep the player invested for longer, whereas, like, the pay-to-plays are more self-contained experiences. Yeah.
Which is why I will point out why I think Genshin Impact is sort of weird, because it feels very much like a
mobile game.
It feels like a pay-to-play game in its kind of formulation.
Like something I'd expect, like I need to see how we develop. Like, it sort of, like, is like this weird crossover between, like, it's like Zelda meets World of Warcraft meets
it's a mix that I'm kind of excited to see, like, where it goes from here. Like, for me right now it works.
I have questions. I'm enjoying playing it immensely, but I want to see where this goes, how it develops, like where we're going here. So,
Genshin Impact actually is it still makes me wonder, like,
it's Genshin, but yeah.
Is it? Is
it's
the
Genshin? Yeah,
I thought it was Genshin.
It is.
Well, it's spelled with a G,
probably.
But I believe the.
I'm not arguing with the Japanese-speaking person.
Yeah, like,
well, I mean, is it a Japanese developer or is it a Chinese developer? That makes a difference. Regardless, the point is,
pretty sure it's a Japanese developer, but
then it would be Genshin.
I thumbin.
It might be I don't know, but the point is, like, that the actual name is in.
I found a cool tool,
like, Eastern language, not.
Wow, look at it.
Not it's not Latin characters, the original name.
Anyway, that's I wanted to say that this kind of meld in between what we would normally classify as a free-to-play game being more like a pay-to-play game. Like you said, it's kind of in the middle ground. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, is that sort of thing going to become more popular? Are more developers going to be able to make games like this that are free to play, but have that sort of pay-to-play sort of genre or feel?
Quality. I was going to say...
Not necessarily quality. Like, I'm going to very distinctly say that pay-to-play feel, where they're still keeping a free-to-play model, but you don't feel like... I don't know. You don't feel like it's a cash grab of microtransactions. You're still getting a good, like, value for your what would be a purchase, but is now a download instead. I'm curious to see where it goes from here.
Right. I've played so many.
Very curious. I am very curious as well, and it is. I don't know where it's gonna go. So
I guess we'll have to wait and see. What's this, Daniel?
What I thought. I did some quick thinking, and I just remembered. This is a Google's Trends chart. This shows you how many times a topic was searched on Google this is the course of the last 5 years. I'm comparing, I shit you not. This is Players Unknown Battleground is the red line, that little red line, and the blue line is Fortnite in Google searches.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really interesting. It hasn't increased. It is slowly going down. I wanted to look it up.
Well, yeah, because we're moving out of the Battle Royale era. Like,
thank the Lord!
Well, right now, Genshin Impact is sort of a single-player era, which will go
we can't call it
strangely.
An era, Daniel. Like...
I mean, how popular it is, it's Genshin Impact.
Well, yeah, but right now it is at flash in the pan stage. The question's going to be about its longevity. Yes, right now it's huge, but who knows what it's going to be in a month.
Hey, guys.
True.
I just thought of something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to compare two things?
No. But thank you.
No, just tell me and I'll just poop them in.
So, Genshin Impact, we mentioned it's kind of a weird little meld of the pay-to-play and free-to-play formula, but that leans towards the being a free download while having the microtransactions as an option.
Mm-hmm.
But you still feel like you're getting that pay-to-play sort of feel. How about we talk about the other in between, the ones that are pay-to-play games, and they offer microtransactions. Why don't we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, at that point, I dislike those heavily.
Gross.
This is cool.
But why are they gross?
If I'm paying a large sum, when I say that, I mean like a $60 or something in that ballpark.
There you go.
For a game, I expect that to have. I said this last week too. I think the bulk of the game. Like that should be the game.
Yes.
Yes, maybe there's an expansion or something where you add like a new map, or you dramatically reward, like you upgrade, you add a whole bunch to the game with an expansion, and you.
And what's funny
sure,
is
that can happen. Like that.
Me and Adam,
but
both.
Like if
did
you
Fortnite.
are basically double dipping, it's like if you here pay $60 for our game. Now we're gonna milk you for 1,000 little microtransactions along the way too. And it's like, why the fuck did I pay the $60 in the first place?
It's gross. It's like they want to have their cake and eat it too. Like they want to sell you a 60 next generation 70 game, a $70 game, and get the monies from your microtransactions and milk you dry. Why? Why do they want to do that?
Because they are corporations and they are designed to make money.
Yes.
I'd like to bring up a topic.
And for these larger, well-known franchises where a ton of people play them already, they assume they're hitting close to market saturation. They're not going to attract a lot of more people. So the way to get more money, especially in the short term, is to just
Daniel wants to make a point, by the way,
on the existing player base.
What's up, Danny?
Yeah.
He's waving the flag. I'm like, me, pick me. Things I wanted to bring up. Very interesting video games. This will hit Adam. right in the soft spot. I apologize ahead of time, Adam, that I ever bring this game up again. Evolve.
Yeah, so.
A pay-to-play
How
game that went
they-
free-to-play.
Mhm.
A pay-to-play game that went free to play. They handled it well, but the game went because of what they did with their DLC and what they did to try and
I think it was
increase
the
their
marketing
profits.
that most fucked it up.
Their marketing was awful.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it was a $60 game, it wasn't fully finished, but it was a great game to begin with. Their first DLC, it only handed out what? One character, one hunter, one monster. For all the viewers here that don't know what Evolve is an asymmetrical multiplayer, kind of like Dead by Daylight and games which there's one overpowered person and there's 4 cooperative people. The 4 hunters have to take down the 1 monster. Okay? So you're thinking, all right, so there's going to be a breadth of hunters and monsters. And when it started out, there was, I think, 3 monsters, 4, not many, and about 12 hunters, 8. It was a really low number because they were just testing
There were
things out.
there were 4 types of hunters, and there were 12 hunters. Or the
12
very
hunters.
very original release, there were 3 monsters, 4 types of hunters, 3 hunters for each type.
And then when marketing happened, because the game was holy shit, it was very high end, so they had to keep putting money into it. So what they gave and what they asked for was outrageous. They asked for, I think, one character. What was it? One character? It was 1 monster. I know that 1 monster and like 2 characters. They asked for $40. 30. It was a huge amount for their DLC, and it caused a huge uproar by the community.
I also think that game was really poorly marketed. I think they were targeting it at the wrong audience, and it did not, like, games with a very similar model to it, that asymmetrical multiplayer, have succeeded with a different, like, market. Yeah,
Oh, of course.
long story
Dead by
there. And
Daylight
that one
is-
falls into the bucket of, like, they went free to play to try and revive the
community.
try and get enough people in it to keep matchmaking going.
They pissed off so many people when they did. The decisions from point A to point B to point C killed it. They were asking $60 at the beginning, and then they were almost asking for another 60, 50 for minimalistic content instead of trying to hand it out for free to encourage the community. And then afterward, the fallout of it, they made it go free to play. Anyone that had paid money basically got everything free. Skins, everything, to try and compensate for the fact that they could have spent $120 on a technically unfinished game while trying to buff themselves
the game
by
wasn't unfinished.
bringing the free
it
play.
was finished when they released it.
Right. But when it went free to play, they just shocked their community so much that they were like, "Do you want to play it?" They're like, "No. I just invested a ton of money on a game that now everyone can play for free, and I have had a horrible time with this game." And gone. That's an interesting story of why you do not overcharge for stupid shit.
All right. I want to wrap this back around to the main topic.
Yes,
And
I
I'm-
do.
I'm going to wrap it back to another interesting topic. I'm going to hit you with this. There are games that are free to play with gacha mechanics, in
Yep.
which caused a huge issue with the loot box, the great loot box debacle.
Real quick
still
question
haunts
for you, Dan. Can you define for us what is a gacha game?
A gacha game is a game in which, how do I describe this best? Because gacha, technically Genshin Impact is a gacha game in which getting high-grade equipment and characters is all based on chance. The term gacha is actually a Japanese term for basically a chance roll to get something of high value.
So, in
And
layman's
quite a-
terms, the loot boxes.
Loot boxes is one. How you do the gacha, though, is up to you. Genshin Impact handled it in a way that I deem it important. Some gachas, what they do is they go, hey, you want the characters that are high rarity that can be fully upgraded, you have to try and get them. And that is technically a trap, which Genshin Impact handled it hilariously. Genshin Impact went, we don't care if you have a common rarity, uncommon rarity, you can upgrade them up to level 70. We're just saying that the really rare characters
80,
with
but
really
yeah, whatever.
80 have really interesting effects. You can roll for them, but you can still, like in my game right now, I just have like 4 purple characters, which is 4-star. None of them are 5, and I'm further than Adam right now, and I am going to probably break through the next level cap. The gacha isn't holding me back in level progression. All it is doing is limiting and making collectability of certain characters have different rarities. And so the Great Loot Box Debacle, I'm going to throw in some different games that have interesting side effects. Because there's the Great Loot Box Debacle of Star Wars Battlefront, in which character strength and rarity came from loot boxes. Meaning whoever spent
And
the
wasn't
most...
Battlefront a pay-to-play game?
Yes. That's what made it
You
super...
paid like $60 for this game,
And that brings it back to the point I was making: is
huge
like
issues.
some or some pay-to-play games try to be
Another
microtransaction-filled garbage heaps. And I don't know why. Other than
an interesting microtransaction issue.
They want to make more money.
Another interesting issue that happened is, with chance, you just have to understand that what you're putting in, you might have a chance of getting back. But the high of it can be an addiction, which is what happened with the whole Fortnite conference, in which now, if a game is a gacha, you can do this with any game now officially. It is in law. If the game has a child audience, you have to advertise the percentage chance, has to be readily available for the collection rate of an item.
Okay.
That is now in law. You cannot
Yeah,
break
there
that
was this whole big thing when Star Wars Battlefront, I believe, was what triggered it. Like that.
No,
hot
it was
mess,
Fortnite
caught-
also triggered it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
then that and Fortnite all happened, and it all sort of like spiraled out because they were so huge and they were so,
easily marketed towards younger audiences.
well, not just that. It was they were so huge and so far-reaching that they like finally caught attention on like a legislative level that we probably have to do something about this.
Mainly because it was being advertised to minors, and they were stating that it was causing early gambling addictions,
Yep.
which is what was happening with the credit cards being stolen from their parents, huge fees being racked up for no reason, the parents being like, I gave you this card to buy $100 worth of... Why did you spend $4,000? And it's like...
I wanted the best characters and weapons.
Because the game was readily accessible, people weren't thinking, and they pulled a dumbass. What happened in Fortnite was people, oh my god, the community started complaining because the PvP community, which was all about guaranteed skins, came into the PvE and were trying to get the legendary stuff, which Adam knows is all a chance drop. But if you play the game every day, you get free V-Bucks. So just be patient, and you get a ton of free stuff, just like Genshin Impact. Be patient, you will get you'll get chances. It's just you have to allot a little bit of time to the game. And now, if you go into Fortnite, all of the random chance loot llamas, unless they are freely given to you, like the Halloween ones or the Christmas ones, where you just have to earn tickets, you can't buy them. Anything you can spend money on shows you what's inside them before you buy them. So you know if it's going to be a gold upgrade llama or a non-gold. Like, Adam could look right now if he wanted to, but that is how it is right now.
I know how they
In order to handle
do it
that
now,
issue.
But yeah, this was legislative changes because of gambling things, and gambling is pretty highly regulated in most parts of the country, and the whole country is the country as a whole.
But it's also a huge thing where you cannot gamble, I do believe, with minors.
Yeah, minors are not allowed to gamble.
To gamble. Which is where loot boxing, people are like, it's a game! And then Fortnite was over here going, yeah, you could use real life currency with this.
Another thing
and they're
where,
like,
just to kind of bring it sideways, is that Magic the Gathering is sort of like very close to running its teeth right into that particular issue. So like,
oh my god, yep.
There's been a lot of controversy over that because essentially game developers are trying to get more money out of you for, games are trying to make money. Like, woo, this is not, news. Like, we now have
Just
a
'cause you have
video
to generate-
game industry, and an industry is trying to make money. Like it's not like, yes, there are still like indie artists out there that are trying to like make a game as a piece of art. Like they're not really in it for the money. Like I'm sure they have monetary concerns, everybody does, but like they're not just trying to make money. Where like these corporations that are making games are trying to make money off of their games.
Just like I would say the New York
And
gambling,
and
New York lottery.
and
There we go. New York
yeah,
lottery.
that's a different thing yet again. But
that is not allowed to children.
No, it's not. Ironically, it most of the profits from that go into the school funds. But hey, whatever.
You're right. You are right.
Almost all the money for the New York lottery goes into the like education fund for schools. It's one of the ways they fund it.
Oh my god. You're yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
so we're getting so far off topic here.
All right,
but, like,
so we've
the
been
point
on
I
this
was
topic.
trying
for-
No,
trying to
well,
make
we're on the
is that-
topic of
is that
how
one of the things
profits
that
generated.
game companies, there's been a lot of kickback over this stuff over the years, are sort of finding out, or hope they're finding out, is that there's a consumer confidence is a sort of thing, like if you push too hard and get too greedy, no one will buy it anymore. Like it'll lose steam.
You push the customer too far, eventually they give up on it.
Because this is something we do for entertainment. It is essentially a luxury. And we will spend more for luxuries than for necessities oftentimes. But we can just do without it. And if it gets too egregious, we just do away with it.
All right.
And
Speaking
so consumer
of
confidence is something that hopefully will come more back into play, because some companies, even larger companies, are very cautious about like really damaging the consumer, like attacking them, because they're looking at long term more. And the idea is, if we can keep people playing our games for a long term, overall we'll make more money than if we try and like milk them for everything right now and lose them all down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So just that's kind of like the feedback from that. But I think we have talked people to death on this subject. Probably should move on to some.
Well, I want to. We've gone all over the place with this one,
Yes.
so I want to
Let's
give
see
up.
if we can tie it together. No
Yes.
more interesting sidetracks, Daniel. Here,
This
tie
is
it
an
together
interesting
and wrap up
sidetrack.
this topic so we can get on to some listener questions before we.
I'll
Oh,
entertain you for
sure.
a second there, Dan.
one, and so
Yep.
now that we've gone to the whole debacle with loot crates, I'd like to state that we discussed how they were done poorly. Now, in the pay-to-play game, Overwatch.
Don't even get me started on that one.
In that one, the loot crates are earned by level. You can also purchase them, but they're all cosmetic.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's essentially a
Sounds
League of
good.
Legends model. The thing with Overwatch is they just
Well,
released
Overwatch-
Overwatch 2.
Overwatch did it first, then League of Legends followed. But yes, League of Legends and Overwatch.
What do you mean?
Overwatch did it first, and then League of Legends saw the opportunity for the sort of cosmetic loot box system where you could casually generate it over
I mean
time.
the Hextech keys.
Hextech keys is a huge one because you generate the boxes for free, and then the keys you just get casually for playing. So
Yeah,
you always
I-
have more boxes than keys, unless you're insane.
Yeah, if you're gonna spend money to get a cosmetic, just buy the cosmetic.
cosmetic, right? Because
All right.
I mean, the only cosmetics that you can only get via the Hextechs are the things you need the gems for, the specialty Hextech skins.
So what
But
comes
the bulk of
what
cosmetics are.
what this conversation has come down to an interesting point is when it comes to free to play and pay to play. At the end of the day, is the comfortability of free-to-play finding a way for us to, I would say, give them money so they can keep running while staying free-to-play, and then pay-to-play using the money that we've given them to buy the original game to generate additional content to keep the game interesting, to keep pulling more people in.
Well,
And to develop sequels.
yeah, like the thing is, like there are certain models of game that I really feel like really suffer trying to be a single, like, lump sum pay to play. Where these multiplayer online shooters, where the idea is you want longevity of this, are going to have people playing it for a long time, and they're trying to milk more me out. Milk stuff. Like, at this point, just move to a model surrounding those as well. Surrounding that, like a free-to-play model or just a subscription model. Like, there are plenty of games that require a subscription. World of Warcraft is, of course, the big example. To play it, that you're going to pay a subscription every month to it to maintain a, and they do that because they need to maintain the servers. And yes, you could say that's an older model now, but, like, don't ask for a lump sum for the game and then keep trying to, like, milk people out with the microtransactions afterward. Yes, putting out an expansion is one thing, but, like, hammering us with a bunch of little trivial expansions that really don't add anything, or add a bunch of DLC content they're trying to make you pay for and everything, like, it gets pretty excessive in many cases.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, that's a good wrap up there for that. I'd say that to wrap up the whole conversation, we've gone over pay to pay versus free to play, but really what that comes down to is a question of how do you monetize a game, and that is genre dependent. That is dependent on your intent for how the longevity of the game, and this is a constantly changing thing. So we discussed 4 different kind of tiers of this monetary practice. Per the topic headline, we discussed pay-to-play games, which are generally your self-contained singular experiences that you pay a lump sum for, and that belongs to specific genres. Pay-to-play stands in stark contrast to free-to-play, in that free-to-play benefits more from different types of genres. Our competitive games, our multiplayer games, the games that are supposed to last for a very long time. And then we've got the weird kind of middle grounds. We've got Genshin Impact, for example, that is a free-to-play game with a more premium pay-to-play feel to it, but it still relies on its gacha mechanics and its microtransactions. And then the most egregious one is the pay-to-play games that require, not even require, but let's just say strongly encourage the purchase of microtransactions. All of these have, well, almost all of them have positives and negatives.
Well, everything is positive and negative if someone's profiting.
Does that profit the consumer, though? Who's it profiting? And it won't profit the developers if all the consumers decide this is bull crap, right?
yeah.
True.
Like, I think that's the point, is that it's a give and take between us and developers. And, like,
Yeah.
I don't mind paying some money so they can continue to develop games and that, developers can work. But when I feel like I'm just shoveling money into the all-consuming maw of a corporation to pad out someone's enormous stock portfolio,
Now, what I find interesting is the game industry seems to be migrating towards either the free-to-play approach or a hybrid approach. The straight-up, per our last podcast, Adam mentioned the pay the one-time fee to get the game and you get the entire game. That's a concept that I prefer, but it's a concept that's starting to seem like the developers are moving past it, and they want to pursue something with more recurring revenue, whether that be their free-to-play games with the microtransactions or pay-to-play game with either DLC, constant updates, microtransactions. It seems like this game industry where we're at right now is having a hard time figuring out how to monetize a game. So that's that's where we're at right now.
Right. Well, what's interesting right now is because at the time of this podcast, we have been through a pandemic that has caused social isolation and also people to have massive income losses. They found that games where you basically spend $1 or $2, but at least at a month, continually generate revenue. Whereas some of these more expensive $60 to $70 games, people have gone, I can't buy that. I need to go buy bread. But these games where they're like, would you like to spend $5 to get a skin or
See, I think
show your
that's
appreciation?
very much an illusion for people. Like, oh, I'll spend the $5 here and I'll spend the $5 here. You're actually spending the same amount over that amount of time. Like, don't
if not
kid
more.
yourself, or probably more. Considering that developers are moving towards it, you assume that most of the big corporations, at least at a point, do money. So whatever they're making, so like you're gonna make more money off of people there. So like that's just a fallacy that people fall into like that. But yes, I think the games industry has seen like a huge injection of interest over the past because everyone's locked up and they need something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's, I think that's a point and everything. And I think along with that, there is that, like, take Jeff, for example. If he bought Breath of the Wild now, it would take him a long time to finish. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because he could only play it in, like, couple-hour segments a couple of times a week. And so it might take him, if he was, like, really trying to get the whole game and, excuse me, really savor it, he would, it would take him months, maybe, to finish that game. Would that be reasonable?
I'd say at least months. Like, it took me, I want to say like 2 months to go through my recent playthrough of Yoshi's Woolly World.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a 15-hour game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would take months. I assume you played a little more aggressively if you were. But, like, Jeff is now back at work. He has a baby. He has kids. He has, so. But, like, I was going to say is people, like, Jeff has a baby, which substitutes for having a life in terms of time sync.
Sure does.
Not like, well, it is having a life. Just like, what I mean is that a lot of people used to go out and do other things. And so where it used to maybe like you get one Zelda game a decade, it feels like, but like you,
it averages out to about 5 years.
It might take, but that game lasts for 6 months or something. You're playing it for because you're doing all this other stuff. Now with the pandemic, people don't have jobs. They're home a lot more, or they're working at reduced hours. Maybe they're working now again, but they don't go out just for fun anymore. So they're at home a lot more in their off time, and so they can cut through games much more quickly. Sort of reoccurring games have gotten more strength, I think, because of that. Because like people have burned through their library of one-shots and are now like, I just need time sync. I just need something to keep me from going insane.
And free-to-play might actually be very beneficial to those people.
Yeah, and that's why I think these types of games have become more, if you can like sink a lot of time into it and it's a reoccurring thing, it gives people something to focus on that's not anything else. And so I think that's why they've seen like such a dramatic, I assume they've seen a pretty, like, that's why, like, this topic has come up more, and, like, this is a thing, and I think it's kind of pushed the market in that direction a little bit more recently. These bigger multiplayer games where, like, you're that type of thing have really become more prominent again, because...
I mean, we saw that jump before this whole situation happened.
Yeah, well, we were seeing it trend this way, and then this situation happened, and it sort of
and
went,
you think it's pushed it more?
And like certain types of games have sprung up more, and like think about Animal Crossing, how it like exploded because it was like perfectly timed.
Mm-hmm.
to come out right after the pandemic started, and it takes and you wants you to soak so much time over a long period into it, and it gives a sense of routine and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of reasons why things are sort of wonky. Why like this whole year, like 2020, you can just like what was the one person saying? He goes like, we're predicting, like, you cannot use 2020 numbers for almost anything to predict. It is going to be an anomaly year. Assuming we get, by next year, we're starting to get back. Like, even now, we are getting closer to some sense of normalcy than we were, like, in the spring. Like, if, like, 2020 year, with, especially in America, with the election and everything else, it's just been a hot shit show from the beginning of March onward. It has been the hottest of hot shit shows. And, so you can't really predict from like numbers we're seeing this year. You have to be real careful. All those numbers come with an asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes so like, again, I think our perspective is a little different now than it used to be. And so I think it's something
That's
like,
true.
To I don't know that it's very hard to account for our own bias, but like, I'm thinking it's definitely there after everything that's been happening.
All right. Dan, any final thoughts before we move on to the next
So,
just sort of
I
like,
went on to the League of Legends, leagueoflegends.riotgames.com, support-League of Legends.riotgames.com, because I knew this was hiding
Mouthful.
somewhere on here. Either that, or I have just destroyed everything I've ever
What
loved.
did you find?
On this, the League of Legends support site, there's an article here that will tell you how much money I have spent on League of Legends. Are you ready?
I shudder to think.
Over the course of, it's not as bad as
Mr. Money
Tyler's.
burns hole in my pocket.
It's
So
not as bad
you've
as
been playing the
Tyler's.
game for 6 years. How
There's-
much money have you spent
there's a
over the last
receipt.
6 years?
Well, there's a receipt here you can look up, but there's a button here that you can click, and it will go and find all your information and just compile it. So I hope this doesn't destroy me. Anyway, I have spent $290.
Well, that's not that bad over the
Yeah,
course
that
of
was
6
about
years.
what I'd assume. I'm less. I'm at like,
But
last I checked, I think I was at 150,
League of Legends
130.
is 100% free. 100% free. And I have given, over the course of these years, $300 to them.
Of course, how much have you played the game? A vast quantity.
Oh, yes.
So, and over that time, they have actually built a whole new. They've not built. They have a whole new server center. They've essentially rebuilt the game's graphics from the ground up. Like, how many changes, how many new champions, how much stuff has happened in that game that, you know. And then like you start thinking about that in terms of like, well, how many like different DLCs without being like this year, of course, has been insane, but like in previous years, there was like a mid-season, like a huge shakeup mid-season and for preseason. Think of it like 2 DLCs a year. Like, you know, if it had been a $50 game when it released, and then we had bought like a $20 DLC twice a year for 6 years.
All right, I just also calculated how much money I spent on League of Legends.
Oh, is there like a button you click?
I spent $115 over the last 6 years.
And you haven't played it for 3!
I haven't played it for a year and a half.
Oh, really? That soon? I thought it was
Yeah.
like 3 years ago or so.
No, I stopped about a year and a half ago.
Holy shit. So between the 3 of us, 3 people, we have donated $500.
Well, donated is the wrong word. We have got something
Spent.
from it.
True.
We have spent.
We
All
have
right.
spent $500 between the 3 of us.
Let me do me real quick.
So that that brings us
We're all
back
just
around to
looking
the
at our
point
cash.
that
On that.
I haven't done myself in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
League of Legends.
League of Legends.
I have not checked how much I've spent on League of Legends in a long time. Is that better?
Much. All right. Anyway,
I do remember the day,
the
though.
point of that little exercise
$200.
is
I was a little low. I've gotten stuff since then.
the point of that discussion there was that, clearly pay to or free to play games benefit from people spending more money on them cumulatively, and that's because of a variety of factors. It just adds to the complexity of knowing how to price your game, how to what price model to go for, and how far to push the customer, right? Like you gotta be smart enough to the point that you are getting a good amount of money to fund your projects and everything and to make a profit. That's the whole point of a business. But you got to make sure that you're smart enough that you're not pushing the customer away, because that'll drive away people from paying money in the first place. And I think that game developers right now are having a hard time figuring out that balance.
I think I want to say that I think part of what really skews it for them or makes it hard for them to decide is that there are a small group of people, let us say, who are not fiscally responsible.
Whales.
Yes, they call it.
Whales is the term.
The common term is whales, but like people that will spend just outrageous sums on games because either it's not their money, that they've got their parents' credit card, or they just have money and they're going to spend it on that game because they spend it. Like I would call that really poor fiscal responsibility. Like that just. But like there are people like that they are essentially taking advantage of, that these people will spend this kind of money if we give them the opportunity. And they are so like there's this idea that they can basically take advantage of these people and make a ton of money, relatively easily, as opposed to the harder, longer term project of
And I have a statement.
And when they do that, sometimes they could really piss off much more reasonable people, like that are just, I want to have anything to do with this, if they go too far. So,
all right, what's up, Dan?
I have a counter argument that I find very interesting. So, Jeff, how much money have you spent on Yoshi's Story?
That's a tough question, because I never bought it. My parents bought it for me.
Okay. So so back then it would have cost $15, $20?
Oh no, more than that. Unless you bought it used.
More than that. So much? So like 30?
I'd say 50.
it was a $40 or $50 game back in the day.
Yoshi's Story was $40, $50?
Dan, all big Nintendo 64 games were in the $50 bracket. That was a big Nintendo 64 game.
But anyway, even that outrageous price.
Outrageous? I wouldn't call it outrageous, but
back
go ahead.
then, with inflammation? Are you kidding? With inflammation?
Those darn feast things, I'm
right
telling
on
you.
curve for a $70 game nowadays.
$60. They're going to
$70 next generation. Anywho,
yeah. Anyhow, so my point is, after it was bought for you, how many times did you buy it? How much money did you keep putting into it?
He's still got that original copy.
Exactly.
I might have bought a $10 eShop version for my Wii U, but that's it.
Okay, so you have spent over the course of, this is your favorite game. You have
No,
played
it's
it.
not. No, it's not.
Favorite game.
Oh,
I
right.
love Yoshi's Story, but that's not my favorite game.
Yoshi's Island. Sorry.
Still not my favorite game, but I do like it.
What's your favorite game then?
Super Mario 64.
All right. So, okay. We'll go there then. Super
right,
Mario
you ready for this?
64. You have put in how much money have you put into that game?
Let's see. We got
Just the original.
Oh, I think we bought.
Don't do the other games.
I think we bought it from a Y Buy New for like $30, maybe $25.
So you spent $30 on your Super Mario.
I mean, I've spent more on it over the course of,
and you have played it for a very long time. You keep going back
easily
to
1,000 hours.
Okay, but the developers, even though you really appreciate that game, you've only given them $30.
Yeah, well,
even offhand, technically offhand.
They didn't get that money because it was a used sale, but yes.
Whereas we, like me and Adam, have played League for 5 years.
6.
And we have given them, even though they're free to play.
Actually, now I'm pushing 7 now.
Between the two of us, we have given them apparently $490 they have generated from the two of us, whereas Nintendo, from one game, this is both one game, from you has generated 30 from a pay-to-play and can't get any more revenue unless they make an entirely new game, whereas we're playing the same game and probably in the future they're going to get even more money out of us, which is why the free-to-play continual profit diagram is so tempting. But for developers also making a pay-to-play game, they're actually getting less money in the long run from their older games because there's no continual pull.
Yes, but how much has Nintendo spent to upkeep that game? Nothing. They created it, and then they washed their hands of it. To add to that, by the way, the development
costs
to make that
the development. Game. Just a quick thing. I don't think the development costs for that game were incredibly high. The team was 15 people who made the game.
Yeah, like they paid an upfront development cost for it. They sold all their shares. They made their profit, and they were done with it. League is a constantly evolving game. We play on servers that they upkeep and run that cost money to exist. And so there's a very big difference here in that what we were saying. Jeff was saying when he was wrapping up, the genre and the type of game are very important. And that is a really key difference is that, yes, but how much did Nintendo put forward to make it compared to how much Riot is putting forward? Like, if you space that out, let's say it's 6 years is a good number here. Say it's $300 because that's a nice round number. That's what $50 a year. Mm-hmm. How much is Riot paying a year to continually develop the game and maintain the servers and infrastructure? Because I'm pretty sure it's a pretty large number.
You also have a very large team.
So their revenue is going to probably be larger over a single game, but it's the single evolving game that's
But their costs.
You have to compare
higher.
League of Legends to the entire Mario franchise to get into the same ballpark here.
Yes.
And in that ballpark, I do believe Nintendo's had a much larger revenue. Of course, they've been doing it for longer, but you get what I'm saying. It's hard to compare these games directly.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think what really sticks out from this conversation, the conclusion that I want to draw from this, is that different.
I wanted to have a counter argument, but
sure, go ahead.
No. That was my counter argument. I'm apologizing because.
That's fine.
We're trying to finish, and I'm like, wait.
What comes from this discussion is that the pay-to-play versus free-to-play models, the reason that they both exist is because they both benefit different types of people, different types of genres, and different types of longevity of the games that they're being models for. There are some games that will benefit from being free-to-play, but if you try to apply that to, say, a 2D platformer that's a 5-hour game, you're not going to benefit from that at all. Controversially, on the other side, you can't make a game like I don't know. There are some games that benefit.
You can't make a game like Hollow Knight.
You shouldn't make it free to play.
Yeah,
because it's a self-contained experience that benefits from having a lump sum. There's just different games that benefit from those two different models, and now we're seeing the developers try to kind of meld those two to maximize their profits. It's an ongoing struggle. This monetary thing is always going to be an ongoing struggle, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. Like we were saying with Genshin Impact, it's an interesting meld of the two that we haven't really seen much. It'll be interesting to see how that turns out and if that affects the industry in any way. Any other conclusions you guys wanted to draw from this?
I would like to say to our listeners, if they are listening right now, if you want us to continue on this topic or expand it in a certain way, Jeff will give you the opportunity. If
you have questions on this topic, please send them to us so we can. If you have a specific question that has come to you in the midst of this, rambling discussion, please send it to us so that we can sort of narrow our focus onto it.
Right.
Yep.
Or if you have an
it interests
opinion you want to share on it, please tell us. Like, we're open to different perspectives here.
Yes.
These
Absolutely.
are just ours.
Yeah,
This is a big topic that can branch off into a lot of different subtopics. So
As
our
it's hard
viewers
to
are
really it's hard to really make a concise discussion on this. It's such a broad topic.
So again,
if you want to narrow it
listeners,
down, feel free to let us know how you'd like to see us discuss more of these subtopics.
and with that wonderful throw, we do have some discussions from our listeners to bring up. Some questions.
Yes. So we have 3 viewer questions this week. I want to go through these relatively quickly as we're at the 2-hour mark. But
2 hours? What?
But we have 3 questions.
I was trying to cut you short.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Like 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
we could wrap it up in 2 hours. Let's go. Okay.
Our first question comes from Zappy Jeremy. This is a question that will
Go fast, hopefully.
it should. And it's also separate from the gaming industry as a whole, so it's kind of a sidetrack but a very refreshing one. Guys, what is your favorite family vacation? I'm going to say, like, what's your favorite destination for a family vacation?
Oh, favorite, like where we want to be or where we've had?
Where you've had.
Had. Oh gosh.
What was our favorite family vacation we ever had? Jeff, do you have one off the top of your head?
Yes. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. My family and I had made that a pilgrimage like once every 2 years for the last, I want to say 10 years at least, maybe more. But I love that place so much. I took Skylar and I took Sky and we went to that hotel, and my parents were in another hotel room. And it felt amazing to be back there again and to kind of be like on our own ish, like go out to the beach when we wanted to or go to the nearby shops when we wanted to. I just love that place so much.
Jeffrey's a grown man.
I am.
He's free.
And next year we're going to take Jeremiah there if vacations are a thing we can do at that point.
Well, get a leash. You don't want that Florida man to grab your boy.
Okay, Dino.
And just start
wrap it up here.
So, in short, yes, that's my favorite vacation destination so far. Bennett boys, you're in the same family. Do you have a shared destination that you really liked? You've been to Hawaii. You've been to Alaska.
I think Adam. I want to guess Adam's favorite. The problem is, me and Adam have both been to different places, but we have both just. Our family was like, we're going on an adventure, because apparently my dad, if he goes to the same place twice, he gets bummed out and he goes, "Oh, I've been here before." So our vacations kept going to more and more.
That is not the reason why.
More and more
we went to all these
locations.
places.
And
You're pointing at the wrong parent for that. And it's not that mom won't visit the same place twice; it's that she wants to visit new places. Like, it's just something she's always wanted to do. Dad is very much, his roots are in the dirt, and she more or less has to drag him onto a vacation.
Oh, okay. Well, I heard the opposite from Ma. I heard it was Dad that had to see a new place.
Well, what's your favorite destination, boys?
Favorite destination? Well, what's hilarious is both me and Adam have been everywhere together.
We're in the same family.
Different places.
So all our family vacations, therefore, have been the same.
But our experiences have been different.
Yeah,
Adam
we've
has traveled
to different places separately, but those aren't family vacations.
Adam's been to Ireland, which I thought would be one of his favorite places he's ever gone.
I mean, we're asking about our favorite family vacation we've been on.
Favorite family? Oh.
All right. Well, Adam, what's your favorite destination?
I know.
For a family vacation.
Okay, what is it then, Mr. I know?
I would have to say it was Alaska. Alaska was probably one of my favorite experiences. I don't know. I was at a good age where I could explore, and I still had the nostalgia of seeing new things, and I wasn't as jaded. Hawaii was fun, and I really did enjoy all the new activities and whatnot, but I didn't feel like I was enjoying Hawaii and the history of it. That's what you guys got. I got all the learning different skills and trades. I went ziplining,
Not really
I went
trades.
rappelling.
Basically, we put Daniel on like cliff rappelling, zip lining, anything that was insane and adrenaline because
Oh, that sounds
basically
like so much fun.
Mom and me were
I
on
did it
nature
all.
walks and like
That's great.
Mr. Bouncy McNoisy was not going to be conducive.
Hey! I
As you
like
sit there
nature
flapping your
walks.
hands for the past 2 hours excitedly.
That's because
All right.
I've been sitting still for 2 hours. Mr.
You do
sit
it when
still
you
for
walk
12
too. It's
hours.
that they're up here, they're down here, like you're like pushing away from the ground with your hands
Swim.
and mental force. But
I'm
anyway,
so-
besides my brother's oddities, I don't know. We've done a lot of family vacations to different places, several to the same places too. But I don't know. There were so many. I really did adore Alaska, but that was just.
Da Bobby.
That was wonderful. Alaska is a really cool place to visit.
Oh, we both like Alaska. Oh.
I loved Alaska, and
I enjoyed Alaska.
I
So
don't
many
know.
cool sites. Lava and a glacier. That was a
there
good
was no lava
memory.
when we were in Alaska. That was Hawaii.
Was that Hawaii?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the giant glaciers,
The
though. I
glaciers
really did like it.
calving and stuff in Alaska. I really liked the temperate rainforests and
That was cool.
that whole experience was really cool. But I don't know if that was my favorite family vacation. I also had a ton of fun when we did the cross country drive through I
Being
can't.
cooped
It's very
up in a
hard for me to
car
give an
for
answer
5
here, 'cause
hours.
there was a lot of ones that were really good. We don't have one that was like the same vacation every time that we just go back to repeatedly. Mainly because we barely made one a year. We usually didn't make one a year. It's like once every other year we'd have an actual family vacation because like Dad works all the time and it's really hard to get him to take time off. So yeah, it's really hard to get him to take time off and have vacation time. So like actually traveling for a while is we only do it once in a while, and we've never taken, I think, the same major family vacation twice. Though I do admit, I guess the closest is when we visit Sheila in Boston. We've done that quite a lot because that's a family friend, and that's a lot of fun too.
All right.
I enjoy taking vacations with my family and seeing new places, but I don't know if I have a specific one. Let's get to the next question.
What about you, Dan? What was your favorite?
I
You
said
said
Alaska.
Oh,
And
okay. I'm sorry.
Adam started elaborating on it. And that's
Okay,
why I was
gotcha.
I
over
said
here
if,
just
if
like
I really had to pick a singular one, it was the Alaska trip. That was
Nice.
yeah.
That was
I
the
enjoyed
most
it, too.
enjoyable one I've had.
Nice.
Mhm.
All right.
The Hawaii.
Well, thank you, Jeremy, for that question. Let's move on to the next one. All right. So, gentlemen, you and I, all of us, have some experience with streaming. Ross asks us, why did you originally start streaming? Now, this is going to be a little bit different of a question. I'm going to take the lead on this one up until a point. So, Volatile Upgrade, which is our Let's Play channel on YouTube, which is now where we host these podcasts video form, it was originally an episodic playthrough series of episodes for different games. We started in about 2014, but 2015 was when YouTube incorporated its live streaming service. Either that or late 2014. And I thought, hey, we could be the first ones here. And we were. And my first live stream on the platform was Super Mario 64. Big shock. I think
What?
I think we got a decent number of viewers from that one too, but to start out with, we did very few live streams, and the reason that we did it was because it was the new thing to do. Now, fast forward to 2017, our Let's Play series, we're still going, but we're getting fewer and fewer viewers. And at that point, Super Mario Odyssey was on the horizon. And I thought, as the head of Volatile Upgrade, I the one who acted most on it, as the self-proclaimed head of Volatile Upgrade, I figured it's time to put the
How
shovel
about
in the
as the
dirt.
driving force behind Volatile Upgrade?
Yeah, the driving force behind Volatile Upgrade, I decided it was time to call it quits. I decided it was time to, finish digging that grave and put it in the coffin and be done with it. But I wanted to give it a suiting wrap up. So Mario Odyssey was coming out, and I think Adam remembers this.
Oh yes,
Um,
I had a lot of fun with these.
we did a road to Odyssey. So I started playing Super Mario Sunshine, that went into Super Mario Galaxy, and then Super Mario 64, leading up to Mario Odyssey. And I thought Mario Odyssey will be the game to cap off Volatile Upgrade. And then we got a following. Our first viewer his name is now Retro Records at the time of this recording, but he was our first one to really be a recurring viewer and tune in, and that was the drive I needed to keep going with it. And I found that our live streams were starting to get a small following, and that just encouraged me to keep going with that. I brought Adam into that as a result. I didn't trust myself to go with a solo live stream at that time, plus Adam and I were living together.
It was easy, convenient.
It was easy, convenient, and it made it more fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing them together.
Yeah. So that's why I started the live streams. And then I just drug Adam into that. But now we're in a post-Volatile Upgrade live streams kind of era. And since I've been talking for a bit, I want to hand off the conch to Dan.
Well,
Dan, you started... go ahead, Adam.
I'll just cut in and put in my spot here is that I have never live streamed on my own. I've only done it as like an auxiliary to Jeff. So my live streaming completely is dependent on Jeff. He pulled me in because we were living together, and we both, of course, were working on Volatile Upgrade quite a lot. And so we decided to do those live streams together, and it became like sort of a thing we did, while we were living together there. And so that was our we had fun doing it. And now I only live stream when I go to visit Jeff or something. Now Daniel has his own stuff, so.
Yep, Daniel, you started streaming relatively recently. What got you started on that?
Right, I did start streaming fairly recently. Our shout out would be at the end of the video. So nobody, don't you fucking
Daniel, they're not going to see the video. Pointing at the camera does nothing.
Damn it, you're right. They can see my
It's
imaginary
a
finger
podcast.
though,
They're
pointing
listening
at
to
them.
us.
Anyway, I got back into streaming as time went on because I wanted to start it at my house, but the problem was the internet was so rough that the only way we could do it is if I made videos, and I didn't want to invest that much time into it because in the very beginning I was a dishwasher over in Dansville, and it was grueling, to be polite. It was 6 hour. There were 6 hour days, constantly on my feet, continually moving, and almost always getting berated while I worked because I wasn't as fast as the other people that didn't do a thorough job. So I didn't have much time or energy. But then as time moved on, I got a night shift job. I finally got a schedule where my days are consistent. All I need is sort of the energy to do it. So after this stream on this Friday, so much when I usually stream, I will not stream, podcast. Afterward, I'll probably stream for 3 to 4 hours, but I typically do it in the middle of the night, so I'm sorry if you're not awake. But I got back into streaming as I got a really good internet provider, got my own space that I could scream in without people getting mad at me, and things just sort of worked out for me to go back into streaming and be extroverted and being able to express myself through video and whatnot. Because before that, it was almost impossible. I didn't have the energy, time, even the support I really didn't have to a large extent. I was, for a time, stuck here living by myself, and I streamed probably like once every 2 weeks, even though I had like 4 days off a week, just because my mind was so mentally blown from trying to do just continual night shifts and to try and pay off the apartment. So now I'm in a somewhat comfortable living condition, which could possibly change eventually because it's still costing me too much money for my budget. And that is kind of the whole story about why I got back into streaming, and now I'm doing it more consistently because now I have these beautiful people here supporting me in what I do, and I've gone back into it, and I've gotten the passion back to try and do it as time has gone. So now I'm streaming, and also Jeff's telling me I should stream on Volatile Upgrade.
No, I've moved past that. Like you're informing your own identity, and I
true.
too have done that. Like
In the beginning, though, I was playing. My viewers will know if they're here, but I did play a lot of Killing Floor 2 because that was one of my favorite go-to games, which is 18 plus because it's a very gory shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at Volatile Upgrade and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't think
totally.
I can play it for his audience who expects happy little Yoshi and some eggs to be thrown.
Now,
And I feel that would be a good demographic.
right, that makes sense. Now, I brought up the fact that we're in a post-Volatile Upgrade live stream era, and that brings me to mine. That brings me to the Yoshi Fanatic, and I'll shout that out later. But when Sky and I moved into our house once we got married, I decided I wanted to try and, start working on my personal channel with her, make it something that we built up together. And since then, it's really been more of my thing, but I still try to have her be a part of it as much as she wants to be. We show Jeremiah on stream at least once every stream. And, I just thought I really want to get started on, investing in my own personal channel. It's kind of a carryover from Volatile Upgrade. Hang on, Dan, I'll get to you.
I know. I'm raising my hand because it's off topic.
It's kind of a carryover from Volatile Upgrade. It's the same format and the same reasons for doing it. I just really like doing it. I like the viewer interactions, and it's just an enjoyable hobby. I really enjoy it. All right, Dan, you were going to say something off topic?
I was going to say, on your streams, is there like a blue Yoshi and a pink Yoshi?
There is not.
You are the blue, and Skylar's the pink Yoshi.
We could definitely have that be a thing. I do have the blue Yoshi. We just need to get the pink one.
Just be an egg that just hatched that has a little Yoshi in it.
That would be adorable. That's a great idea.
Last question here.
All right, Ross, thank you for that question. Now for our final question. Retro Dude asks us, what are the top 3 games that you adore? Now, when I first thought of it, that question, I kind of took it as, what's your top 3 favorite games? But I want to take it in a slightly different direction. What are the 3 games that you adore the most? They don't have to be your favorite.
I can.
I'm gonna go ahead and list mine just to give you the idea of what answer I'm thinking. Okay. So, my top one that I adore does happen to be my favorite game. It's Super Mario 64. That was the game that jumped forward and took a game that was originally in 2D, jumped it into the third dimension, and created an entire genre on its own, the Collectathon 3D platformer. That's the one that really started it. You had 3D platformers before that, but let's be honest, they weren't at the level that Mario 64 was. So that's the top one that I adore. Number 2, I'm for a different reason, I'm going to give it to Zelda Breath of the Wild, because it's in a game franchise that I love and is just well regarded in general. But it took that game series and took it in a vastly different direction. It's a game that stepped out of, what makes a Zelda game. Kind of went back to the roots of the first one, and it's redefined the Zelda franchise. I'm going to say, from here on out, you're not going to see the typical Ocarina of Time formula as much. You're going to see something new, and that started with Breath of the Wild, really. And the results are telling. Breath of the Wild is the best-selling Zelda game, bar none. It's the best-selling one, and it's for good reason. So that's my number 2 game that I adore. And number 3 is an indie game. But it is not my favorite indie game.
Shovel Knight?
Shovel Knight. Yes, Daniel's correct. Shovel Knight, because it started this trend of indie games that are high profile enough to be like, they're up there with the AAA games. They can be considered up there with the AAA games in terms of quality and everything. That really started with Shovel Knight, as far as I can see. It was the big driving force that pushed indie games to be something truly special. And as a result of those, you've got my two favorite indie games right now are Hollow Knight and Celeste. But I don't think those would have happened without Shovel Knight. So I'm going to give my number 3 spot to Shovel Knight.
Now,
Who wants to go next?
Okay, games I adore. I know them. I think I know them.
Well, then go.
Okay. Can I do it backwards?
Sure.
Okay. Number 3, Spyro, Year of the Dragon. That game, when it comes to games I adore, that game has had so many childhood memories and had solid mechanics, solid gameplay. Everything about it is just solid. To a degree, whenever a game approaches it or approaches the style, I get nostalgia immediately. It was a huge part of my childhood. I loved playing it. And it wasn't a complicated game. It wasn't overtly hard. But
Squeak.
it was fun, and I really enjoyed it. Now, the 2 spot, I'm going to have to give over to... It was a franchise, but if I had to name it a game, it would be Sly Cooper 3, Honor Among Thieves. The game was massive. Play styles everywhere, but it brought back what I loved about Sly Cooper, and that was a huge part of my childhood, too. It was a great game. I loved it. And what's interesting is, I've played... Everyone that's watched me knows I play a lot of combat games. I play quite a few shooters. Yet one of my favorite games of all time is a stealth, sort of like a stealth exploration game. I love the feel of it, and it has always had so many memories. Number 1 has to go to a series which, throughout probably 4 years, I have followed the developers of Fireproof Gaming, and I still give them the number 1 spot because I've always loved what they've done. I love the thought they brought into their games, which comes from The Room. Should I give it to an individual game? Each game showcased the fact that they continued to develop, continued to make new ideas for this franchise that started out as a horror game in which they went, we can't make this into a horror game. And the developer's like, well, make it into a puzzle game. They all looked at each other and went, you know what? We're going to make a puzzle game with a horror aspects to it. And it worked. They took that idea and they ran with it. And then they kept they went from an individual puzzle box. The next game, 3 puzzle boxes in a room that all work together. The next game, having a hub world where you go into puzzle rooms, almost like an escape room. And just recently, their greatest achievement came in the fact that they did The Room VR. They made a full virtual experience. This team, I don't think, has grown in all their years. They're still a small indie 20-person team that has pumped out, again, a new idea after a new idea and has continued the concepts. And I appreciate them and go back to their games time and time again to just see the quality that even a small group of people can achieve if it's their dream. And that game is I still adore it, and I deeply love that franchise.
Nice. Solid list. What about you, Adam? If you're still thinking, I do have something that I want to say too. So,
well, Adam, what you're going to say?
Because I went for adore rather than
have,
monumental. So
yeah, I have something to say. Go. Give me a few.
I just want to note for my list. You guys know I'm the Yoshi fanatic. Not a single Yoshi game made my top 3 games that I adore.
And for me,
it's funny.
Every single game people have watched me stream, not a single one I have streamed has made it to the my top 3 that I've adored. Now, Dreamscaper that I stream almost regularly is probably top 5 because the developers have done great work in it. But I haven't seen where it's gone, and it's a flash in the pan right now for me. I don't know what's going to happen to it.
I was going to say, like, Yoshi's Island doesn't quite break the top 3 for me, but I think that if I took it down to, like, if I went, like, a top 5, Yoshi's Island would probably be 5 or 4 because, I love Yoshi,
You
and
adore it. It's literally your childhood to a degree.
I think what I liked so much about it is that its subtitle is Super Mario World 2, so it's technically it's a prequel to Mario World, but it was so much different from that game and branched off and made its own kind of genre, and is so much different than the game that it was inspired by. It took that playstyle in a vastly different direction, and it's a game that the Yoshi series continues to try and emulate to some extent to this day. It's such a solid game.
We could honestly talk about the Nintendo franchise as a whole for just making games that each one has been radically different, but an interesting experiment at the same time.
So I just wanted to note that, like, I know Yoshi games weren't in my top 3 games that I adore, but they're up there. I promise.
I was going to say, I guess I'm going to say, I can't not put CK2 on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Crusader Kings 2.
Mm-hmm.
That is my most played game of all time. I really enjoy playing it the way the way you kind of get to build your own story. Like you're playing in history with vaguely historical constraints, but you're
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just adore that game. That's got to be on the list. I don't have a particular order for these 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was having a debate here between Age of Empires and Supreme Commander, but I think Supreme Commander takes it. I don't know, something about it just always. I played a lot of it. I really enjoyed it.
You start small and then
not the new Supreme Commander 2, but the original Supreme Commander and its
Supreme Commander 2 was awful.
Were just, I don't know, I just loved that RTS setup. I loved the way that worked. And then the one that probably I most adore out of it is Rome Total War. It was the original Rome Total War. And it's really funny. I could give you all these reasons, but I think the reason that how can I say this? The way I know it's the game that takes that spot for me is that there was a mod to Rome 2 that had the music that played the music for Rome 1 over the game. Hit me right in the fucking nostalgia. I instantly recognized the music, and I was humming along with it, and I was like, ooh, I love this music. And I was like, this is the Rome 1 music. Yeah, no, Rome 1. It gets the slot. To the point where you start playing the music, and I'm like, boom, salivate. Fucking Pavlovian response there. I adore, the music game was good, but I adore that game. That was probably my favorite of all the Total Wars that have come out, with maybe Shogun being better, but since then I don't think they've done as good, and it makes me very sad. But that's it for my answers. Let's wrap this up. This has been very long.
I was expecting Adam to say the original Majesty. That's an old
one. I don't know if it gets on that list. Probably top 5.
Well, either way, that's a solid list, Adam.
I'm starting to smell skunk, so I need to check to make sure there's not a dead one on our porch. So let's hurry this up and wrap it up.
On our porch? Oh, shoot, we better wrap this up, boys.
All right, gentlemen. Well, Zappy, Jeremy, Ross, and Retro Dude, thank you very much for your questions. If any of you other viewers have any questions that you'd like us to answer in the next episode, feel free to put them in the comments or in the Discord. We'd love to answer your questions, so just let us know. Mm-hmm. But that wraps it up for this episode of the Gaming Corner podcast, gentlemen. Daniel, you were mentioning your live streams. Where can these lovely viewers find you at?
Well, lovely listeners who are viewing us with their ears, you can come and see me over at Dance Warrior 777. I usually stream Friday nights. I can't remember if Twitch has a save feature, so you can go back and watch the streams that I've done. But
It does. 2
It
months.
does? 2 months. Okay. So you can come and look at my channel and see what I'm currently up to and check around and say hi. I need to change the notifications because right now I think it says I stream Thursdays. Things have been weird. So I need
Dance
to go and
Warrior
tweak that.
777. Twitch.tv/Dance Warrior 777. And I have a YouTube channel that I live stream on and sometimes post videos.
I think
That
it's
is-
about Yoshi.
Yeah, it's the Yoshi Fanatic. Just search the Yoshi Fanatic on YouTube. I do a weekly live stream, typically on Saturdays. Right now I'm playing through Luigi's Mansion 3. And yeah, that's fun. And
good. More property destruction just to get more money.
dude, the wealth is all that matters in that game. But I'm also working on a new video. I just wrapped up my recording for it. It's a comparison video between Yoshi's Woolly World and Yoshi's Crafted World. And the question I'm trying to answer is Yoshi's Woolly World really better than Yoshi's Crafted World? It's in the works. It's still got a lot of work to be done on it, but look
It's
forward to
more
that, guys.
More banjos.
Adam, do you have anywhere you want to direct the fans?
Nope, not particularly.
All right, well, gentlemen, I think that does it for this episode. Thank you very much for the conversation. It's always a pleasure. And guys, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Gaming Corner podcast.
All right, everybody. Keep on dancing.
Bye-bye.